I'm going to call the Star City Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, September 7th, 2021 at 7 p.m. I'd like to ask you all to please stand with me and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is Mr. Brian Howard here? Oh, there you are. He's going to do our invocation tonight.
Thank you very much.
And just make sure we speak into the microphone so everybody in the virtual world can hear you. It's on.
It is.
Yep.
Good evening, council members, neighbors. All right, I'm just going to read a brief scripture and then we're going to pray. Amen. James chapter 1 says, verse 2, count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance or steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Verse 5, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. So let's just pray for wisdom tonight, for all the things that we're facing. Amen. Our Father, we come before you right now, Lord, and we just honor you for who you are, Lord, the God of all creation, the God that loves us, the God who cares about us, even the minutest details of our lives, Father. And Father, we ask for wisdom tonight, Lord God. Through all the emotions that happen in these meetings, Lord God, and the needs and the agendas and the plans, Lord God, for the city of Star, Lord, you're shining on this city, Lord God. Father, there's a reason so many people are relocating. There's a reason that these council members have all these issues to face and all these challenges to negotiate through. So Father, we ask for wisdom and all the decisions and the things that we say. And let, Lord, perseverance, let patience have its work in us, Father God, that we can all be complete. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that very much. Roll call.
Hershey.
Present.
Keys. Here. Chadwick.
Here.
Salmonson.
Here.
Nielsen.
Present. Okay. We're going to move on to presentations, but before we do that, I just want to let everybody know we have 5 public hearings tonight. That's quite a few, right? Lots going on. There is a chance that the ones towards the bottom around F, E, and F, it's possible we don't hear them tonight. We may table them if it gets too late. It does nobody, when we talk about wisdom, it does nobody any good to make decisions when they're wiped out late at night. Because our council works day jobs as well, usually starting 6 or 7 in the morning. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that depending on where we get tonight. Our first presentation with Hayden Homes and Star Outreach is actually going to be moved until October. They had an unfortunate outbreak, or Hayden Homes did, with some COVID, so we had to move that. We're going to move the presentation by our auditor, Jordan, on our fiscal year 2019-2020 audit.
Thanks, Mayor, Council. Like I said, my name's Jordan Swigart from Swigart John Associates. I'm really briefly tonight with everything going on, gonna just hit a few points on the audit. If you have questions, please stop and let me know. I'm on the audit presentations in front of you. If you open to numbered page 1 with our letterhead on it, this is our opinion on your financial statements. So what it says, that we looked at your financials, we looked at your QuickBook, how things were being accounted for. In our opinion, at the end of the year, everything was fairly stated. So what the numbers in this report correctly show what happened for the year. After that, on pages, and I'm just going to skip over a lot of these here, pages 4 through 9 show you the balance sheet where cash was and the income statement for the year. We're going to look at the income on another sheet, but I think the balance sheet we can kind of skip over tonight because that's just your cash balance that you've seen throughout the year. From page 10 through page 16 are the notes to the financials. They're similar to what they've been in the past. There are no major changes there, no major items. So I'm going to jump to page 17. This is your income statement for the year for the general fund. So you can see the first 2 columns there show what was budgeted. That third column shows what actually happened, and then the last is your variance there. So you can see you budgeted to bring in 4.2 million. You actually brought in 6.6 million for the year, or about 2.3 million more than was budgeted. You'd budgeted to spend 4.2 million, ended up spending 4.3 million, or just over $1 million more than was budgeted for the year. So overall, at the end of the year, you were able to increase the reserves by about 1.3 million. Any questions on that?
Huh? Oh, sorry, do we have the PDF?
I don't.
I don't think it made it on
I don't
my,
think it made
my
Sorry.
thing here. Okay,
Turn to page 18. This same report, but this is for your park impact fees. So you can see budgeted to bring in and spend 430,000. You ended up bringing in 975,000, about 545,000 more. You spent 392,000, or about 38,000 less than was budgeted. So you increased those impact fee funds by $583,000 for the year. Any questions on that? From there, I'll jump forward to page 20. Page 20 breaks out revenue, showing budget for actual, again, in a little bit more detail. You can see one of the big drivers of being over budget was the ACHD processing fees. You brought in about 800,000 more on that. And then some of the other, your revenue sharing and items and your building inspection fees also were kind of driving that up. Page 21 and 22, this just breaks out the expenses. Again, very similar, your ACHD impact fees you paid out really threw you over budget there. And then the home inspection fees that you pay for the inspectors is also what threw you over there. From there, I'll turn to page 23. So in the state of Idaho, all government entities, in addition to looking at the financials, we also look at controls over financial reporting and compliance. We didn't see any issues there. We saw where controls were in place, things were being reviewed and looked at throughout the year. So we didn't have any findings. So overall, it was a good, clean audit report. Really the main suggestion that we made to Jake, but it's already in place, is changing away from QuickBooks. As you're growing, as you have impact fee funds, QuickBooks just can't handle that. So making that change.
we are making that change already this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, to Black
It's-
Mountain.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
already in place. So
Yep.
yeah, that's just very important. I know it's a big bill, but it's a very important one. Any questions for me?
Any questions of Mr. Jordan?
If
So
you,
overall, we're healthy financially.
yep, everything ended in a good place for the year. So yeah, no real concerns that we had.
And is there anything we could give you when you're here so you're not so stinking cranky when you're doing this?
We're just really angry. I mean,
I know you are.
really hard to work with.
I'm kidding. You guys are awesome.
Oh, well, now I'm happy. So if you do have questions, our number's on the letterhead. I'm more than happy to go over any questions you have another time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Mr.
Hey.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I also have available copies of this. It'll be at the front desk if anybody wants any.
Okay, very good. Okay, we're going to move on to proclamations. The first proclamation that I'm going to read tonight is Elevate Our Heroes Day. Elevate our heroes, Elevate Our Everyday Heroes Day proclamation. Whereas we recognize our law enforcement officers, firefighters, EMS, dispatchers, corrections, coroners, chaplains, retired first responders, healthcare workers, clinicians, our military, our veterans, and their families as everyday heroes. And whereas those heroes put themselves in harm's way, protecting and serving our communities without hesitation, and whereas they are called to help, serve, protect, and save lives, and whereas their selfless work can take a great toll on their physical and mental health, and whereas over the past 4 years, we have seen a devastating upturn in the number of suicides among these professions. And whereas Idaho is currently tied for 50th in the United States for having the least amount of mental health and wellness resources. Sorry, I could pull that up for you. And whereas we recognize it as a paramount for us as a community, surround our first responders, members of the military, our veterans and their families with love, respect, and the best resources available for them to maintain their mental health, wellness, and build resiliency. And where it has been shown that improving access to good mental health and wellness resources substantially affects their families' well-being as well as the communities in which they serve. And whereas we honor and pay tribute to those who have been lost in the line of duty or died by suicide, as well as those who continue to keep the spirit of true heroism alive each day and be serving as our everyday heroes. Now, therefore, I, Trevor A. Chadwick, Mayor of the City of Star, Idaho, do hereby proclaim September 11th, 2021 to be Elevate Our Everyday Heroes Day. So I'd like to thank our heroes. If we have retired law enforcement, military, medical profession in here, thank you very much. And for everybody out there in our community, thank you. We have a very large contingent of retired military and police and fire here in our community. So I do appreciate you very much. And this Saturday is a very important day in our country, in our country's history. So please, thank you guys, right? And so I will be out in Nampa, right? I'm sorry? At 10 a.m. He was telling me, just reminded me on Saturday as we remember September 11th, 2001. This is the 20-year anniversary of that. Okay? Thank you. And I'll get you one of these. Okay, thank you. Constitution Week Proclamation. Whereas September 17th, 2021. Oh, sorry. You scroll. Whereas September 17th, 2021 marks the 234th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which all commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore I, Trevor A. Chadwick, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Star in the counties of Ada and Canyon, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that the lost rights may never be regained. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Star to be affixed the 7th day of September of the year of our Lord 2021. Besides the Bible, that's probably the most important document in our history there, right? It makes us who we are today. And as you all know who I am, I'm very big supporter of our Constitution here in the United States. So those are our proclamations, and we'll get that one signed. All right. We'll move on to item 6, the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of item 6A, approval of claims provided and previously approved, and item 6B, final plats, Rosti Farms number 5.
We get a motion. Do we have a second?
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, public hearings and action items. We're going to move on to item 7A, the Canyon Highway District 4 City of Star Impact Fee Ordinance.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
just point of order with council. Can I just do this as a motion and then do the reading, or do I need to do this as two separate acts?
We're obviously not waiving the 3 reading rules. So the only motion is to adopt the ordinance, but we just still need to read it for the 3rd time.
Right.
So if you,
Make a motion and then read it?
yeah, or some actually include the reading as part of the motion. So
Right.
they'll say, I make a motion to approve and then read the entire title.
That was my intention.
Yep. And then you can do it all together. Yeah.
Okay. that's
So
all
real
good.
quick there, before you read that, Councilman Keys, I just, so the citizens know, we have put together an impact fee for the Canyon County side with, in conjunction with Canyon County, Canyon Highway District 4, Middleton, and the City of Star. So impact fees will be paid on new development over there to help with the roadway improvements on that side. So, okay, go ahead.
And Mr. Mayor, and I might also add that we've been working on this for over 2 years. This has been a long haul. So it's my privilege to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 342-2021, Star Canyon CDH4 Transportation Impact Fee Code, an ordinance of the city of Star, Ada and Canyon Counties, Idaho, creating Article B to Title 7, Chapter 3 of the Star City Code, creating a short title, applicability, findings and purpose, creating definitions, imposing of transportation impact fee, collecting of transportation impact fees, allowing for certain exemptions, creating an individual assessment process, creating developer credits and reimbursements, identifying the methodology for the calculations of transportation impact fees, defining extraordinary impacts, allowing for fee payer refunds, establishing for transportation impact fee trust fund and trust accounts, expenditure of transportation impact fees, allowing for appeals, protest and mediation, requiring periodic reviews, outlining an audit process, creating a joint development impact fee advisory standing committee, allowing for enforcement and collection of impact fees, adoption and authorization of a city highway district intergovernmental agreement, allowing for certain miscellaneous provisions, creating a punishment section, construction of intent of article, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
So that was your motion, correct? Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen, sorry.
I'm not sure if this is important or not, but it is CHD4, not CDH4. So I think we will at least want to get that corrected on the copy
I amend my motion accordingly.
and amend the second.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, we got a minute motion, a minute second. Roll call vote.
Hershey.
Aye.
Keys.
Aye.
Salmonson.
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries and that becomes effective 30 days after the date of publish, correct? Is that correct, Chris? Oh, okay, 30 days from tonight. All right, very good.
Yeah, sorry, it needs to, once, normally, ordinances become effective on the date of their publication. The Idaho Code requires that for impact fee ordinances, there's a 30-day waiting period from the time they're adopted. So we'll get it published within that required time frame, but there's a 30-day wait from tonight until it's effective.
Okay, very good. All right, so we're going to move on to item 7B, the public hearing for the Grace Assisted Living Facility Annexation and Zoning Development Agreement and Conditional Use Permit. I'm going to read the rules of public hearings for those that may be new to this. You guys will sign up to speak if you wish to speak. I'm going to open the public hearing. I'm going to ask the council if there's any ex parte communication or contact. The applicant will have up to 20 minutes to present their project. The council can ask the applicant questions and staff questions. Public testimony is 3 minutes per person. We'll go over with those that are for the project to speak first, those against it, and then those who are neither for or against it, but wish to speak to the project. The council may ask the individual speaking follow-up questions that does not count towards their 3 minutes. The applicant will have a rebuttal of about 10 minutes. The council will ask the applicant and staff questions. I will close that public hearing and then the council will deliberate. So a motion will either be made to approve with conditions, deny, or table the application and date certain in the future. So we have a lot of people here tonight, which is great. I don't know how many are outside, sitting outside. Is there quite a few out there on the chairs? Oh, just one? Oh, I thought there was a lot more out there. So please, guys, only the person at the podium gets the floor. No one else cheer, clap, do any of that stuff. We got to keep it under control here, okay? And be respectful for what's going on. So I'm going to open the public hearing. I'm going to ask the council if there's any ex parte communication or contact regarding this application.
None.
No, Mr. Mayor.
None.
None.
Okay, hearing none, then the representative of Grace Assisted Living will come up here. Please state your name and address. And I think I have a presentation. And I believe the little, yes, is right there. So give me just a second here. And real quick, Dana, do we have anybody signed up online for this one at all? Okay, thank you. All right, the floor is your, oh, and sorry, one more thing. Mr. Jacob Qualls, our city clerk, will be doing the timer and he'll let you know when you get close to your time. Okay, thank you.
Mary Wall with Brecken Land Design, 6661 North Glenwood Road in Garden City. And I'm here representing Grace at Star, who's proposing a Grace Assisted Living Facility and a transitional living community on a piece of property located.
Is it not moving? You got to point it over this direction, I think. Ryan? Field?
I do just push the forward button.
Yeah, I'll
or-
push the forward.
All right. Okay, so the location, site location is at the southwest corner of Bent Lane and Highway 44. It's a 14-acre parcel. It's contiguous to the city of Star. It's kind of in that island that is still Canyon County property. And before you tonight, the applications are an annexation, a zoning request, a development agreement, and a conditional use permit. This is a zoning map showing the project site. The project to the west is zoned mixed use. Project to the south, or property to the south, is residential. The Canyon County property immediately east of the property is industrial zoning, and on the north side of Highway 44, Canyon County is commercial. We are requesting a commercial zoning in the city of Star, C1, which is community or commercial, residential commercial, or this is showing the property on the future land use map. It's showing that City of Star is planning for all of the property to the north and to the east is commercial, compact residential to the west, and neighborhood residential to the south. This is the proposed overall project. On the north side, facing Highway 44, would be the Grace Assisted Living building, and it would have a memory care unit as well. And on the south side are independent living units for seniors. So it can be transitional living. It could be living for, if your spouse needs the assisted living, you could maybe have a residence close by and be able to maintain that contact. Some of the positive aspects of this proposal is that there are minimal traffic impacts. Most of the residents in the assisted living building do not have driver's licenses, so there's only the staff. And there's no impact to schools. This will provide some new jobs for the community of Star. Should be a relatively quiet community. And all utilities, city utilities, are adjacent to the property in Bent Lane. The proposed phasing of the project is the phase 1 will be just the assisted living facility and the property, the road around it, and a road going over to Bent Lane. All the frontage along Bent Lane and any highway improvements would be done at that time. The second phase would include additional frontage on Bent Lane. It would include the Backage Road, which is a road that's part of the road complex plan with City of Star and Canyon Highway District. I believe that road will continue west to Middleton in the big scheme of things when everything gets done. This is a picture of a typical Grace Assisted Living facility. They all look similar. They have different color schemes, but this is the front of the building. It's what would be facing Highway 44. There's a 40-foot landscape easement adjacent to Highway 44, but after that, this is what you would see. It's really, their facilities are beautiful. This is an idea of what might be put in for the independent living cottages. They're 5-plex is what's proposed. They would all be single level, appropriate for senior living. A couple of the comments from other agencies, and just a couple of comments I wanted to make was that we agree with all of the conditions of approval proposed by all agencies. Canyon Highway District did require a traffic impact study. It's under contract, but due to the workload, we won't be getting that for probably another month. There was a sidewalk referenced in the ITD report, but it wasn't actually a sidewalk. It's a little concrete ditch that's irrigation ditch that runs along the front of the property, and that's actually going to be removed. And that we're happy to work with all the agencies to meet all the design requirements and the conditions of approval. We think this is going to be a really great additional project for the City of Star. I think it'll look beautiful, and I think it'll be useful. It'll be helpful. There's no other facility nearby that provides these services. The commercial lots shown on the right are future. They'll probably be broken out, possibly sold. Anything that's being proposed on those would come to the city under separate application. I stand for questions.
Okay, any questions of the applicant?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
what is the building height?
What the building height is? I do not know. It's single story. But I
So
don't know.
we have a building height limit of 35 feet. It doesn't exceed that, I
No.
assume. Okay. And you've got a request in there for private roads, and I'm curious why you're asking for private roads, and the roads you have proposed are not actually designated to be built to our city standards. And I wonder if you can explain to me why you're choosing to not do that, or why you're asking to not have roads built to our city standards.
Because it's more of a private community. And I don't think that the city-sized streets are necessary for the type of traffic movement and so forth that would be required in there.
And I guess what my concern is going forward, if those commercial lots end up being developed, because Bent Lane will be identified as a collector, they won't be able to take access off of Bent Lane. And so they'll have to actually come in through that private, or that, I guess you're calling it a private drive, and then use those roads in the back. And so when we get to the other side of the public comment, I'm probably going to ask if you'll build at least that entry road and then that road that fronts the commercial to city standards. Because that'll likely end up having to be a city road to serve those commercial uses. And then I noticed on your plans, it says Chubbuck, but I assume that's because it's your boilerplate plans?
It's basically going to be
Okay.
the same facility that was built in Chubbuck.
Okay. And those are all the questions I have now. I'll hold the rest of my comments until after public comment.
Okay,
Thank you.
any further comments of the applicant?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman Solomon?
So I have a question regarding the parking. And the 5-plexes do those have the 5-plex units? Is there a garage or
Yes,
do they
there'll
have
be a
parking?
garage and there will be parking in the driveway.
Okay. Okay. And so what about off-street parking? Is there any plan for that, or are they, if there's a little family comes over to visit grandpa, and where do they park?
We don't have any street parking planned on there. There is some area in that open space where we could possibly add parking. And there will be parking around the
In the front of
assisted
the
living
building?
facility, and typically their parking requirements, parking demand is pretty low. So there would be extra.
Mhm. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, any further comments of the applicant at this time? Councilman? No? Okay, thank you. So we will move on to the public testimony. I just want to clarify, Chris Spolero? Spolino, did you want to speak? Okay, I wasn't sure if you crossed that off, so go ahead, sir. State your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Chris Spolino, and my address is 22009 Bent Lane.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm a little bit undecided. I'm generally in favor of the project. It seems like a very nice project. The representatives have been very helpful and professional, so I really appreciate that. I do have some concerns, primarily that it seems like everything's getting annexed around us. So we're an island, and that does concern me. So I hope at some point in the future we consider, just having a clean line so it's a little bit easier knowing what utilities, what, emergency response and so forth is going to be a lot cleaner rather than being an island. My second concern is infrastructure. Right now, we can only reach one tower for internet service, and that is in peril. We barely reach it. So I'm a little bit concerned with the building height or trees or what have you, that our internet might be absolutely completely cut off. And my wife works at home, so that would be a big hardship for us. The second concern is, and we've approached it with them about a fence on that backage road. And I just, hopefully that would be sooner rather than later if they're gonna phase it in like that. So rather than having one period of construction to suffer through all the dust and everything, it'd be much easier if it was, if that was one of the priorities. And then that backage road, I would personally, for what it's worth, I would rather it be undeveloped. I mean, of course, nobody wants a road next to them, but I understand that may be a possibility. But as far as making it a bigger road or more room for parking, I would appreciate not so much. And I think that's it.
Okay, any questions of the gentleman, Mr.
Mayor
Chris?
Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
Mr. Spalino, thank you. So if I understand correctly, you're requesting, well, I apologize. I don't quite understand where you're going with the annexation and being an island. Are you?
So this is under request for annexation.
Right.
Star River Ranch to the south of us is, and then there's made reference, and forgive me for not doing the research beforehand. I'm not sure what your general plan includes for the property west of me, but if that includes annexation as well, then we'll be an island. And so in my experience, and it might be not the same here, is that sometimes when you're an island, there's confusion on, oh, does this address fall in the city? Does this address fall in the county? And so I'm kind of curious on whether that is something that is I feel a little vulnerable being surrounded.
Is
So I
this,
don't know if
just real
that's-
quick, is this you right here then? You're in this strip?
I'm sorry, where?
Right, this is the proposed project.
Yeah.
Here's Bent Lane. You're
Yes.
saying you're in this
Yes.
strip right here. Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
Okay, thanks. That helps me understand.
All
So
right.
I think there are people you can talk to get answers, probably a couple of these guys right over here, Sean
All right.
Nickel being the primary there. And then I apologize. There was one other question I had and I can't remember what it was, so I guess I'll not worry about it. I will say that backage road, that will have to be built to Canyon Highway District standards. So that would not be made any larger than it already is planned. I think it's the other roads that are private.
Okay. Any further questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. So in looking at all the little check marks and stuff, I kind of I got the uncommitted first. So I'm going to finish with the uncommitteds and then we'll jump into the fours. Okay, so we got, is it Mark Crone? Okay, go ahead, sir. And state your name and address for the record, please, when you get up here. And is that C-R-O-N?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Mark Crone, 6808 Saddleman Ranch Court, Canyon County. I'm just to the west of that. I actually wanted to see the project before I was committed yes or no to the project. I'm always for my mother-in-law. My mother was on assisted living and they do a great job. So I wanted to be here to see where that was. My concern is that the sign they put up for this hearing was right on the border to the purple to the west of it. So I didn't know if it was extending all the way across or if it was just the 14 acres that we're talking about. So you place that sign in a very poor location. Because I wanted to make sure that to the west of that was not even going to be part of that because I'm the next set of houses over. And that's what I was going to do. Going over a couple of things, the parking, when you said assisted living is parking, every weekend is crowded. When you've got assisted living, when I was there every weekend with my mother and my mother-in-law, there was always space. So if you don't have enough parking, I think that's going to need to be addressed because what's going to happen is it's going to bleed over into other places in that area. And with the assisted living, I'm worried about the lights. I don't know how high you're going to do lights, but I don't know if there's a ordinance for the city of Star. Is it 24/7, 365, or do you shut them off at night, or they have to be under 30 feet, or whatever the ordinance is for that? Because my back looks right into that, and I am gonna see that, and that's why I was asking, I was gonna ask about the lights and the parking lot, in that. I guess one of my biggest questions, I'm in Canyon County, it's not Star, but this HR 389 governmental legislation that just got passed, and how it's really hamstrung a lot of cities and how they're trying to expand, and it's going to cut their taxation and how much they can limit. There's a lot of annexation going on, especially around where I'm at. And you see it today. There's 5 different ones that you're annexing in and adding more. How is the city of Star going to pay for all this with the infrastructure? Because all I see is grow, grow, grow. And I was looking through this and I do not see a lot of other places where you are beginning to say, okay, we need a new sewer treatment plant. We need, another fire station down here. We need something else. And that's all, those all cost a lot of money. And like I said, I'm in Canyon County. It's not going to be up to me and all that. And you've told me before when I was here, I'm in Canyon County. I'm not in Star. So I'm just sort of rambling. That's where I come from. But I'm just worried that, like the other gentleman from Bent Lane, we are getting sucked up by Star all the way around us. And we are worried. Yes, you have
You're
a
at your
question.
3 minutes, bud.
Oh, no, that's fine.
So I'm gonna jump
That's
in
fine.
real quick for you. On House Bill 389, I would encourage you to go look at my budget presentation on August 4th.
Okay.
I think it was August 4th. Yeah, August 4th. It's online and it discusses the ramifications for Star with House Bill 389. And Star is not responsible for sewer and water. That's a separate taxing district that has their own tax money from
Mhm.
there. We don't have the fire. Fire district is separate as
Separate,
well.
okay.
So we have just police services, city services, and parks and recreation. And my budget presentation stuff describes all that about House Bill 3.
Well, I saw that at the end of the audit last time, that there is a positive in the audit. You're up $1 million, or you're putting that aside, and that, so Star's done a very good job up to now on being, fiscal responsible in that. I'm just worried with all of this stuff coming up that there's some thought about sort of sitting and slowing down a little, because I'm worried about that other gentleman with the Bent Lane. We are just getting surrounded. And
Sure.
we are going to have problems with, who do I call? What do I call? Are they all going to stand at the corner and say, that's not my district, or that's not my jurisdiction? And then we're all sort of problems.
So Star Police has so the fire district is not an issue. That's covered.
Right,
all the way
right. I
there.
know Middleton
The
and
only
Star
thing,
have all
yeah,
that,
the
yes.
only question you'll have is on the policing side of that. The Star Police has an agreement in place with Canyon County Sheriff's Office to be able to service all of the annex areas in Canyon County and Star with 80 county sheriff's deputies, any one of them.
But I'm not being annexed.
No,
I'm
I
still
know you're
gonna be-
not. That's what I'm telling you. Anything within the city of Star. So you're probably going to still see Canyon County sheriff's deputies that patrol the eastern side of Canyon County responding to your stuff. But there's a joint agreement. So if there's a problem, I'm going to assure you that Star
Someone's
Police will
gonna
be
show
there.
up.
You're going to have help.
All right,
Yes.
all right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and just real quick, there is a sewer lift station going in and out of Kingsbury that sewer department is putting in. That'll be online probably in a year as well.
Okay,
So,
okay.
right. So, okay. Thank you, sir. Miss Tammy Cron. You know him.
Tammy Crone.
At least you didn't slap him on the way by. That's a good thing.
6808 Saddleman Ranch Court. I thought that was a nice presentation, and both of us had concerns because of the placement of the sign and what was coming closer to us. We did see the sign for Grace Assisted Living, and we thought, well, that seems reasonable and nice. And so I guess I would be leaning toward being positive about that. As he mentioned, 3 of our relatives were in assisted living and 1 in memory care, and near and dear to our hearts for that whole system. I wanted I guess, three things. I kind of narrowed it down into three things that I'd like the city of Star to consider. When working out further and further from the city. We're in rural Canyon County. That's what we moved for. And a lot of people moved there because they didn't want to live in the city. And so all my neighbors have livestock, place to garden and farm, and we want it to keep our rural farm area as rural as it can be. And I understand growth is coming, but we would like to keep it as uncongested as possible. And in my opinion, I think the congestion should be concentrated more toward the city center where more activity is. And then as the expand out to make the congestion less and less as we move away from the city center. And one thing that really bothers me is please try to hold builders accountable to the zoning laws and don't allow variances on the setbacks of property lines to 5-foot property lines. That's, no one wants to live in that. And I know that I have a son that lives in a house like that, and his friend is buying a house like that, waiting for it to be built. And he's already saying, oh, I can't wait till I can get out of here and not be 5 feet from my neighbor. And, you know, they're just looking for that next step. And then we're going to be flooded with all these 5-foot variances. You can't take it back once
Right.
they're built.
So we got to keep it towards this hearing though, not in general.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, I just want to, you know, we have built 3 homes, 2 in Washington and 1 in Idaho. And we've always followed all the building codes. And I really appreciate her saying she wants to follow all the rules and do all of that according to the plan. And whatever comes her way, they will meet those demands. And I fully appreciate that, but I wish that was the case always. The rules are there, so let's use them. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Miss Tammy, can I give you my card with my contact? Email me and I'd like to sit down and chat with you about what you were asking. Okay? All right, thank you. Okay, that was the uncommitted, the 4s. Mr. Brecken, you didn't sign up to speak. That's at 4. And Linda, is it last name? Hines, okay. And you said you weren't sure if you wanted to speak.
Well, I would answer questions.
Oh, so we'll have you come up then to answer.
Well, are there questions?
Well, I don't know. So when we get up here, I'm sure the council will have questions on there. So before we get there, we got Mr. Dustin Helmick. I think I said that right? Yep. Can you come up here, sir, please? Oh, yes, and you wish to speak. Okay.
Hi, my name's Dustin Helmick. I live at 6375 Bud Lane, which is just across the canal next to Chris. I guess I did have a couple of questions, as I said.
So you can ask the questions and they'll come back up
Okay.
and answer the questions after.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's, to my understanding, my grandfather's on that property basically just south of there since 1980. I had to move away for work for a little bit. I have 2 young daughters, 8 and 6 years old. I was fortunate enough to make it back. And they're 5th generation Idahoans. And I want them to grow up in a community like Star. It's where I grew up. And to see this growth is concerning to me. Sorry, it's a little bit emotional for me because this is such an agricultural, strong community that I was a big part of. I played football for Middleton High, you know, farmed, ranched, did all that stuff. And I know that Mayor Chadwick, you said that we want to be specific to this project, but big picture to me, Star seems to be missing the boat on the big picture. We have unreal congestion coming in and out of Star. We have 2 2-lane roads to get to Boise. That's it. I mean, something has to be done before we can allow any more growth in this area, I feel. I think it's a beautiful community and I think it will serve a great purpose. And it's also a good opportunity for us to have that there just because I think it'll be low impact as a neighbor. I didn't agree with the proposal, but I think I didn't fully understand actually the project. I do know that this property has been rezoned a couple times in the last few years. I didn't come here with any facts. A long time ago it was agricultural, and then I believe it was zoned residential, or at least a portion of it. And I think they were going to put in 4 residential lots. 2 of the lots were built out. And one Chris lives in. And then the next thing you know, it's getting rezoned again. And I'm just questioning why we just keep rezoning property around Star here with no like impact, no overall big picture of what Star is going to look like in the future. And we just keep rezoning and rezoning. And it is concerning to me because they've started development out there some 6 months ago. They've done a bunch of dirt work and stuff. And now they want to rezone it to multifamily. And if this project doesn't go through and it does get rezoned to that, does that mean that multifamily could possibly come into that area rather than this project? And I think that's pretty much the couple questions that I had.
Okay. I want to answer a couple questions for you, but regarding the traffic side of that. So we put what's called a proportionate share agreement in place a year ago with ITD, which money is collected on the development community to help pay for road infrastructure improvements on the state highways within the city of Star. We just executed an agreement with engineer last month to start the widening process from Canada Road to Star Road, right? From 2 lanes to 4 lanes. ITD already has funded, and in their future plan in 2023, they're widening the road from Linder to Highway 16. And then in 2024, they're going from Highway 16 to Star Road. So there is widening being done on those lanes there. Canyon, now if you're talking about Chinden, 2026, I'm not sure where they're at as far as getting that widened from there. I know they have planned to go from there to the interstate at some point from Highway 16. But right now they have the Highway 16 improvements that has been funded this year. And they're planning to have that completed by 2025, including all the overpasses along that whole entire stretch. So there is things being done to help alleviate the traffic issues, right? It's just not being done right away. They're coming in phases and steps.
Yeah.
So that's what I can answer for you regarding that. Now, regarding the zoning portion of that, right? That when you're talking about the rezoning, this is the first time this application has come to the city of Star. So with an annexation comes a zoning with the city of Star's zoning codes. If any rezoning was done, it was done through the county
Okay.
at that time, and we
Okay.
were not part of that
Okay.
thing. So this is the first application coming to the city of Star, establishing a zoning district based on our comprehensive plan that we put in place 3 years ago, I think, that we updated completely in this area, just so you're aware
Okay.
on that as well. So.
Okay. And with that, so you were saying out to 23 and 24 for the roadway
Mhm.
projects that ITD is going to go through with. And to the gentleman's point earlier, maybe we slow things down a little bit to let that development happen before we start developing more of the property around us. You know what I mean? I mean, we all can say that we feel the impact monthly here by the growth on trying to commute to and from Boise.
Right. And so I'm going to give you another point of information too, real quick. I'm so heavily invested in this traffic thing. I mean, I've been working my tail off for 3 years on trying to get some of these projects completed and done. But the traffic, if you go to Plummer Road on ITD's traffic counts, there's 15,000 average daily trips there. When you get to Canada Road, there's 9,000. So only 6,000 of those trips are attributed to Star. 9,000 of them are coming from the western side of Canyon County, which is Middleton and Caldwell. So we don't control any of that on that side, right? The unfortunate part is if we slowed stuff down here, not a soul is going to slow it down on that side. And it will still continue to congest, right, in that area. Projects like this one is a commercial style project, which is beneficial to the taxpayers here in the city of Star if it gets approved, right? So, I mean, I understand, trust me, I'm from here too. I'm an Idahoan since before the state was a state. We have a family ranch, all that stuff too. I completely get it, right? I understand that whole deal.
What state law lets you slow it down if you could?
Right. I mean, we don't have a mechanism in place to just say no. right? If it falls within the plan and it's contiguous to the city, right? We can say no to an annexation, but this is a commercial style business, right, for that, so.
Well,
There's a lot of different things that are on there, right, that we can do.
and
Huh?
Mayor Chadwick, I'll just add to that, that
Right, right.
even if we did say no to an annexation, you know, that an applicant can turn around and still do the same thing, develop in the county. And that's not necessarily beneficial either, because we do have an overall plan. It's called our comprehensive plan. You can go to the City of Star website and see what that is, what we anticipate that to look like. And this part of Canyon County, I believe, is included in that plan.
Yeah.
And so you can go get that big picture viewpoint. But really the only way to slow this stuff down is for you and your neighbors to stop selling for the purpose of development.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is true. So I want to, Mr. Dustin, I want to offer that to you too, if you want to reach out and we can chat and I can explain a lot of this stuff to you so you can see that, right? So appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I also wanted to let him know that if for some reason this project doesn't move forward, this is for a commercial zone and you can't build multifamily housing in a commercial zone. Would have to come back for a high density residential zone. So that's kind of off the table. And then Chinden is going to be widened to 5 or 6 lanes from the Phyllis Canal to Highway 16 in 22 or 23. I mean, it's coming right up. So,
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah. So, all
Mayor
right.
Chadwick, one last thing. Thank you for the passion. Really appreciate your testimony. You're not wrong on any of that stuff.
So, thank you, sir. Okay. Let me make sure I got everybody here. Okay, everybody's done, so we could have Miss Mary, Miss Linda, if you want, either one.
Okay, I'll just try to speak to a few of the bigger issues that people brought up. As far as a fence at the back property line, we're certainly willing to do that. Also, in terms of the dust during construction, we will be required to have our pollution prevention plan and dust control measures, and those will be followed. The backage road, that's Canyon Highway District and the City of Star. We're just complying with their requirements in terms of putting that road there. Lights on around the facility, will only be doing what's required by the City of Star, and they do have their dark sky light requirement, so they shouldn't be shining out in everybody's eyes. Parking generally at other facilities similar to this, when people have visitors, they do park in the driveway. The actual assisted living facility will meet the parking requirements for the facility. If we can add parking in that area, we'll do so. Other than that, I think that's covers the main points.
So I want to just ask a few questions of you real quick. So we could put in
Okay.
the development agreement that we will put that fence along that backage road to protect those. Now,
Okay.
do you know Ryan? Where's Ryan at? Is he in here or is he outside? He's outside. Dust is huge.
Okay.
I've shut projects down because of dust already
Mhm.
in the city. So that, I can't emphasize that enough, to water that sucker down so we don't have that stuff blowing all over the place. That's important, right, for us. On the light situation that we have with the neighbor to the west, I would encourage us to work with staff to look at where those lights are located so that it's not going towards the residential units that are over there in that side, right? And we do have our dark sky initiative, but I think it's important. I know Councilman Nielsen on many occasions has asked about can lighting in the buildings to go down instead of spreading out, right? Just to kind of give it that better ambiance, I guess, out there for folks. So that's what I have. What do you guys, questions ever before?
You took what I was gonna say.
Councilman Nielsen, go ahead.
You said what I was gonna say.
I'm sorry.
Canned light, that's all right. Canned lighting. Dark Sky Initiative talks about it going up, right? But
Mhm.
going out, especially shining into a rural
Correct.
area,
Yes.
we don't want any exposed bulbs. And so please, let's put that in the development agreement, that those will be, nothing shining out, that can lighting. Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
yeah, I was going to ask that we put an item in the development agreement that fugitive lighting is to be, is to not leave the site. Also that I want to put something in the development agreement that agreement can be reopened when the commercial property comes. So whatever that is, we get another bite at that apple. It's hard to, for me at least, to put a bow on something and say we're done when there's something that's coming that we don't know anything about.
Can I, real quick, Michael, can I ask Chris about that? Would it be a separate development agreement or would it be attached to this one, Chris?
If you're not rezoning it in the future, you can't really do a separate development agreement.
Okay.
And so I think what Councilmember Keys is talking about is just having kind of a placeholder in this one that says that at the time that the applicant comes back to develop the commercial piece, that the parties agree that they can reopen the development agreement and amend this one to include some additional language or maybe some additional restrictions or benefits that'll be tied specifically to that commercial property.
Okay.
And then I mentioned in my comments earlier about what's identified on your drawings as Road A and Road B be built to city standards and be dedicated as public roads. And I don't think that belongs in development agreement, but I'd like to make that a condition of approval.
Was that on the presentation?
Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, it's on yours. So it's this road right here is what you're saying? This one and this one?
The ones along the.
Oh, I got
commercial.
you. Okay, so this between the two commercial and right along the commercial.
Right, and that's because Bentley being a collector, as those commercial properties develop, there'll be no access off of Bent Lane, and so that'll be the public access.
So let me ask this question of staff real quick. Is that Backage Road going to be a collector as well? Going east
Probably.
west? Okay.
If it's not arterial, it'll be a collector, probably a
Right.
collector.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay, you want to answer any of those questions, Ms. Mary, to him or comments?
I don't know if there's anything to answer. We're happy
Okay.
to,
With that, okay?
yes.
Any further questions of Ms. Mary?
Mayor Chadwick. So I'm still kind of stuck on the parking issue. I am concerned with the, like the narrower streets and it, so a fire truck comes in there, in front of the fiveplex. I mean, they're taking up a big portion of the street also. So I would like to see, some parking included in that common lot open space if possible, or somewhere back in there, because all of the parking is at the very front of the building. And, even if there's older people visiting, these people, that's, I don't know, just the walkability. And I think it's important that we have some parking somewhere back there.
Okay,
So I don't know, how do you add that, or do we just,
Sean? She was looking at you.
Oh, I mean, the parking that they've got proposed meets the city requirements.
For the main building, right?
The
What
main
about
building
the
and
fiveplexes?
The fiveplexes, 'cause they each have garages and driveways. You're required to have 2 parking spaces per unit.
We could also just tell them to be in compliance with the fire chief's report. It has all that listed for some of it, access roads and development require entrances, and fire district requires the models that's been submitted for review, has feet restrictions and everything like that too.
so it's a 2-car driveway? Is that correct?
Yes, I don't know if all units are 2-car
Uh-huh.
driveway, but there is a driveway parking space and a garage parking space.
So I've been in a lot of assisted living facilities, and I've also volunteered for hospice. And I've been to a lot of these, a lot of these places, and, the accessibility is really important. And so I guess, I don't know, if there's any way you can add some parking in there, I would feel much better about it.
Are you asking them to include parking above and beyond what's required by the code?
Not really. I mean, I think if you could maybe just move something around.
So how,
Or if you added some parking in the back of the building, if that's possible,
well, so how wide are the streets?
like 20 feet,
25?
5?
So I don't know if you can kind of adjust a little bit to make that north-south a little bit wider so you could have on-street parking or something like that, right?
Right?
Right,
Yep,
yeah.
yep. Or that, if you can, yeah, do on-street parking somewhere on the roads in there.
We can look at
Would-
that.
Would that require, so Sean, let me ask you a question. Is there setback requirements for these fiveplexes?
They can request what they want through the CUP, which is what they've got.
Okay, so
Same with
if
private
they had
roads.
to squeeze those two, well, let me point at it. If they had to squeeze these two fiveplexes more to the east a little bit to create a wider street for on-street parking right along here, I mean, would that?
Yeah.
I mean, that could work, right?
Yeah, or they get parking on one side. So
Get
you do
parking on one side to
29,
provide
so
a
that
little extra
4
parking.
feet would give you parking on one side. You can
Right.
Do that and still meet fire.
How many spaces? I mean, you're asking for some additional parking, but
Well,
a little, a lot? I mean,
are we driving
some idea of what we're trying to get at.
4x4 trucks or
Well,
little,
or how
little
many
cars like Steve
how
drives
many
over
car
here?
spaces, like, 5 extra spaces
That's what
throughout there, or,
Yeah.
I
not-
mean, because that makes a big difference if.
I think if,
Yeah,
you're
not
asking
one
for.
for every unit by
Yeah.
any means, and I understand, yeah, that there's, many of them will not be driving, but they may have people coming to visit them and their doctors and, all of that.
You know, if you, that complex there in the center with the 3 fiveplexes, if you push that in on all sides, you could widen the streets all the way around and that would solve it for the entire project.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman
I
Keys.
also wanted to point out that switching Road B from a private road to a public road built to city standards will provide for on-street parking, actually on both sides of that road if you wanted.
Yeah, it'll be there. He's talking this one right here, Miss Jennifer.
Uh-huh. And whichever the other one?
So,
Oh, and the entry.
yeah, well,
Which
but the
side
entry
road?
you won't be parking on that,
Right,
but
right.
here. So basically, if you just add, you want 5 additional parking
Yep,
spaces,
somewhere in
then
there, please.
that's up to you to figure that out.
Okay,
Five additional, is that what you're?
Yep.
Yeah.
all right.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant? Or staff?
I did notice, sorry, that the fire department, their response, so they are within 1.1 miles. And so their response will be, like 2 minutes. And I think it's a fantastic location for emergency services that way.
Okay. Any further questions or comments before we close the public hearing? Have Miss Mary sit down. Okay, thank you, Miss Mary. Appreciate it. So I'm going to close the public hearing and go to council deliberations.
Good. Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Hershey?
generally, I really like this project, and just a little history. Back when I was young and broke, right after getting on the Marine Corps, I became a commercial exterminator and was an exterminator for many types of facilities like this. Because sometimes they get bugs. This was a state that no one likes me to mention, so I won't say I live there. But there is a Marine Corps base there, so it wasn't my fault. And so, and I can say that these things are low traffic, are very quiet. And generally, the only thing I remember is getting stared at by somebody out of a window. That's about it. And so they're very, very, the ones I was in was very impressive. And this one looks like it's on the same type of caliber. So I am all for this with the conditions as stated.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
So I'm looking at this application and I'm finding that it is in compliance with our comprehensive plan. It meets the objectives that we've laid out in that plan. I think it'll be a great addition to our city. I like that we're bringing in some commercial space and a badly needed service in our community that folks have had to travel out for a number of years now. So with that, I'm going to make a motion that we approve this application. With the condition of approval, the roads A and B are to be public roads built to the City of Star standards. That the development agreement includes a fence along the backage road, canned lighting and no fugitive lighting. The development agreement can be opened when commercial uses are identified, and that there's an additional 5 parking spaces above and beyond what is required by city code.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Did we get all the conditions that were discussed?
I think so.
Wow. Nice job. Hearing no further discussions, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. And I would encourage the two folks, the Crons and Mr. Dustin, to contact me because I'd like to sit down and chat with you about that stuff, about your concerns. Okay. So we're going to move on to item C, Cherish Estate subdivision. And we're going to, again, the same rules apply for this. We are going to reopen this hearing from, I think this was tabled from when? July 6th. So I am going to ask the council if they had any ex parte communication or contact regarding Cherish Estates.
No, sir.
none.
Okay, hearing none, then we will have the applicant come up, state your name and address for the record. And you got 20 minutes.
Mayor, members of the council, thank you very much for letting us present on this this evening. My name is Lewis Parsons. I'm with Sterling Development, 1159 East Iron Eagle Drive, Eagle, Idaho. I'm here with the owner, Jim Zubiaga, our president, Brian Sinderhoff, and other members of our team. This is a continued hearing from July 6th. And again, just going through my slide, I've got Mr. Zubiaga, Mr. Sinderhoff, Dennis Hubsmith, myself, project manager, Deborah Nelson, our outside counsel, and Bonnie Layton, our planners here as well. And the landscaping was done by John Roders. This is the revised site plan that we put together based on the feedback we received at the July 6th hearing. This is the density of this now. This is 100 developable single-family units. It's below 2.5 units per acre. And I'll go through sort of the, again, this was the iterations we did. We left the park in its present location. We left the detention in its present location. We actually left the street system in its previous location. All we did was substantially increase lot size by reducing the site by 36 lots. Again, the project location, it's a 40.22 acre site on the south side of West Floating Feather Road. To the north of the site, the zoning's R4 rural urban transition. It's developed. To the south of the site, the zoning's R4 developed. East of the site is R2. There's a DA and it's developed. And then west of the site, it's at R2 and it's vacant. Sort of the iterations to where we originally preliminarily mapped this, never submitted it for 180 residential units, had discussions with staff, came to 153 units, further discussion, and what was we presented to you in July was 136 single family lots. And that was at 3.38 units per acre. Again, after the July 6th council meeting, directed to reduce density further. The comp plan is 3 to 5 units per acre. And so now we're below the comp plan, but over the applicable density. So we're at right below 2.5 residential per acre. The difference here is now the average lot size is 9,900 square feet. We have over 19.8% of the site open space and 14.69 qualified open space, which both exceed the code. We meet or exceed all tree requirements. I know there's something in the staff report that talks to that, but there was a subsequent submittal of the landscape plans. And so we're in compliance with that, but also the condition does state that, prior to final plat, we have to comply with all the tree requirements. We still have the 30-foot street buffer along Floating Feather with detached. Again, 2 large parks proposed. The main large park, our goal is again to make it very pedestrian friendly with an accessible sandy beach area, hopefully for swimming, fishing. This is an exhibit that we think is important to see. When we looked at the various lot sizes of the land to the south of us, we looked at those averages. Those are about 9,200 square feet. To the north of us, we looked at the averages of those lot sizes. There's a little over 8,000 square feet. To the south, west of us, the Hunters Creek, those are about 7,700 square feet. And then to the east of us, they're about 10,280 square feet. So we're very similar in average lot size to what's to the east. We're approximately 300 square feet on average less than the project to the east. Again, project attributes, which are similar to what was previously proposed. Main park includes play structures, picnic area. Secondary park has a picnic area, pergola. We're including the 10-foot wide paved pathway along the west and south of the site to provide connectivity. We think, regional connectivity is very important. We're going to provide connections to all the communities around us, and all sidewalks are going to be detached, not monolithic. Agency responses, we've received input from all agencies, and we've accepted the terms of all their comment letters. Furthermore, the staff report, the September 7th staff report and the findings, we agree to all the proposed conditions and recommendations, and we're continuing to monitor the groundwater, and all this data is being incorporated into our civil design. We got follow-up agency letters from the various agencies, sewer and water, fire protection district, school district. One of the things we did and previously was conducting that community outreach to listen to the concerns of the community, and we have now substantially reduced the density along both the south side and east side of the project. And one of the things we're committed to and is to make sure we match product on both the south side and the east side to ensure, if there's a single story, we're going to match that with a single story, so on and so forth. So there's not going to be a situation where we're backing up a two-story to a single story. Again, this is a more clarifying exhibit, analysis of the setback evaluation. You can see along the south end of the site, the elevation at minimum, given what we're proposed, they're about a foot higher. And you can see the range in setbacks between where we're meeting our setbacks and where we're going to be. We're going to be anywhere from 62 to over 90 feet setback from the existing homes on the south. On the east side, we're going to be, in some cases, well over 160 feet. And then the one lot, we're going to be 67-foot setback from that resident. We also have, we have this common lot for an irrigation easement. And so that's providing 26 feet of that distance. Average lot depth for these lots, and this is in the southeast corner, 177 feet. So the purpose of these exhibits is to show we really took a hard look at what's out there, understood the concerns with a new project coming in adjacent to this, and want to show that we're really mindful and are showing a significant setback from the existing development to the south. This is also in the southeast corner, and again showing similar setbacks with that irrigation easement. And then also that parcel, that triangular portion is a parcel where we'll be proposing a connection trail to the existing trail to the east of us. This is a cross section that sort of again shows this irrigation easement area, the Waterview subdivision, and that's to the south, and then the Lakeview subdivision to the east, just giving you some better reference instead of just a aerial 2-dimension. Additional site considerations with this reduced density, again, the surrounding projects, our project is going to sit below to the development to both the south and east. The canal easement provides additional setback. So we're just providing this common lot buffer, buffering and setting back as much as possible from the existing communities. This is the circulation plan showing the roadway, if you went south out to North Star Road, the connection point, which we're only permitted to have one connection off of Floating Feather, the connection to the project to the east. So this is just sort of how the whole street connection system works. And again, even with the reduction in the unit count, we haven't changed the circulation plan that was presented to you previously. Again, I think one of the things that this exhibit's just showing is a lot of this is developed. Most of the development is all occurred around us. Again, with the exception of the parcel to the west. This sort of shows, we looked at analysis over the last, almost 20 years of just where our site is and then what's occurred. And now with this reduced density alternative that we're presenting to you, we feel that it's much more consistent with the development patterns and what's taken place surrounding the project over the last 20 years. Construction considerations, and again, I want to preface, this is another slide, but this is subject to city approval. We understand that these existing neighborhoods are concerned about the construction traffic that may be coming through their neighborhood. So if approved, we understand that we would accommodate and handle blocking off construction access to those adjacent subdivisions while we're building our project. So just wanted to put that out there, understand that there would still need city approval for that, but we'd be more than willing to accommodate it if so permitted to do it. Again, we're going to be building product 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. With this larger product, we'll probably have more single stories incorporated. We will have some 2 stories incorporated, and with an emphasis of single story along the southern and east boundaries. But again, this is a much larger lot repertoire that we have that we didn't have before. So, and then this is, again, some of the visual iterations of some of these are existing pictures of some of the beautiful neighborhoods that are in and around where we're proposing our project. And then some of these are actually the renderings of what we're proposing. We want to make sure everything is consistent or even, looks very nice with separated trees. Just really make this a special entrance. And we're going to endeavor to do so. Again, this is a rendering that you saw last time with our project entrance. Again, it's a 30-foot buffer. There was a question about the combination of the fencing and the buffer. We have no issue if we need to buffer that green area a little bit in accordance with the condition and then have the fence separated onto the property line. And again, these are just some various iterations, conceptual iterations of our project. And so with that, I'm here with our development team. I'm here to answer any questions. We appreciate all the feedback, not only from the council, but from the community we got on July 6th. And I'm here to answer any questions and as well as our development team. So thank you very much.
Okay, any questions of the applicant at this time?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
So thank you. I think that you did really listen to the folks that were here as well as the council, like you said. So you mentioned that you would seek city approval to block off streets. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, one of the concerns we heard, and maybe I'll go back a little bit. The concern is, there's different access points to the site on the south and the east, and then, not yet to the west, but I think there was a concern as we build this out, was there going to be construction traffic coming through the neighborhood? And we don't have a problem not allowing construction traffic or not having traffic come through those neighborhoods until such time as the majority of the construction traffic is approved. I just don't know if that's something that the city is willing to do, or what their timing would be, is for they want a connection, but it's something we'd do whatever the city would permit us to do as far as limiting traffic into those existing neighborhoods while we're building the project.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. I think so I'll have a question of staff, if not now, at some point. Can the city give that approval? My understanding is these being ACHD roads, that they would have to be the approving authority, but perhaps only once the roads have been turned over and accepted by them.
Yeah.
So prior to that, it would be within your control. Do I understand that correctly?
That is correct, through phasing, so they could make that connection to those stub streets, later phases in the development, and then once they're dedicated to the public, then they'd be open, but until that, they can control that, or we could control that.
But wouldn't Starfire require a secondary access at 30 permits plus?
That is correct, and they
Okay.
could work with the fire district, and they could possibly make those emergency-only access points until they're dedicated to the public.
Haven't I seen signs that say like no construction entry around town? I mean, for developments, is that a simple solution?
They put them up, but it's not really enforceable.
Followed? Yeah.
Yeah, we were thinking, just to, not to interrupt, but you could have that sign up, but if truly the only ability for a vehicle to get in one of those new access points is just for emergency vehicle access with only fire access, we're fine accommodating that and working on that until such time as the improvements are transferred.
Any further questions of the applicant at this time?
I have one, Mr. Mayor. If you
Councilman Hershey?
wouldn't mind backing up to where those setbacks were,
Sure.
and might not be anything, but it's just me. Yeah, right there. That 1 and 2, the 67 footer, why can't you just make that one lot and let that setback kind of match the others? I mean, it's just one lot.
You're saying up at that corner,
You're talking here?
Yep, right there. Just doesn't seem to fit to me.
understood, if that's something that you guys would want to have us accommodate, we probably make the access onto the western, not, just keep it consistent with those 4 lots. So yeah,
Yeah, it still keeps your density under 2.5, so you should just be good with it.
sure.
It's just one lot.
No, understood.
It's just, I mean, I know that, I'm sorry, there is a house there, correct?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons for it is, when you look at the lots on the north side, we were just, it'd just be a large side yard, but that's, these houses are going to be large, beautiful yards. And so we're exceeding the tree implementation requirements. So yeah, if we needed to just make that, a rectangle instead of 2 squares to reduce it by 1 unit, we could certainly accommodate that.
That's strictly my recommendation. I'll see what the rest of the council say. I just wanted to bring that up. I just thought it'd be nice to have the setbacks about the same along the sides. Thank you for that.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant at this time? None? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I will start bringing people up here. I got 2.5 pages. However, not everybody spoke up to speak or sign up to speak, so that's a good thing. So we are going to start with, I'm going to start with Larry Tavares. Larry here, there you are. State your name and address, please, sir, for the record.
Larry Tavares, North Red Ash. I'm right on the east side of that, right there. I'm probably on between 154 and 163. Will there be a?
What's your, address, the full address.
1321 North Red Ash.
Okay, thank you.
Will there be a walkway for them in the back, or are they going to use ours?
So ask your questions, they'll write it down, they'll answer it here when they come back up to rebut.
Yeah, I was wondering, would it hurt for them just to put the park and the pond from that area over west and get it away from the front? It's a question.
Okay.
And I'm concerned about the park for the kids. The kids be out there playing, all goes out to the street. It's not gonna look pretty. You know, something happens to the child, they're gonna have to name City of Star to a different name. And I'm just, you know, with the construction that's been going on, I think Star needs to kind of time out and evaluate the growth. Because I come from a small town in California where it was like Star. Now it's homeless, traffic. You go out on Floating Feather on Friday, Floating Feather, not State, Floating Feather. It's a challenge. And are they going to widen Floating Feather? How far? Will Star Road become a stoplight down the road? These are all the questions you need to ask yourselves. This place has grown real crazy. And like he brought up, and it was a good bring up, is stop selling your land. Tell you the truth, that Cherish Estates, if I had the money, I would have bought it and left the moo cows there. Or corn. Because it's just getting too crazy. And you got, you know, we'll be long gone and our kids are going to look back and go, what did they do? You know, and that's what my little town's going through. When I moved in that little town, there was 60. Now there's 100. And there's more Amazons and everything moving in. And it's not the town you grew up in anymore. And please, you got to look at that. I mean, I tell people when I see them, when I sit down and have breakfast with them, it says, watch out for the homeless. You get 1 or 2 in, they're going to blow it off. Next thing you got 40 of them. And then you look at each other and go, how did we get to this place? Stop. You gotta stop. Regroup, put a moratorium on it, says, okay, after this one, we're gonna time out. We need to figure out where our stoplights are gonna go. We're gonna widen roads or what? You got a lot of things going from 2023 to 2026. But that all can't change when the state go, well, we can't give you that budget. It was planned. I mean, look what happened to Lake Point. I heard when we came in there that you had to give $300,000 back to whoever that guy was. And none of it looks like, you know, you guys got beautiful, you know, sites on Cherish Estate. That's just eye candy. When it's over with, does it really look like that?
Time's up, bud.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Dennis Wells.
My name is Dennis Wells. My address is 10355 West Shumard. I'm a little bit on Larry's side. You're going to hear of the 3.5 pages that the mayor has there. Most people are going to be talking about density and reducing the amount of homes. I'm going to talk about safety. Right now, the way the park and I guess that's a lake, I don't know what that is up there, 2 parks they call it. By being there in the north part of the development, most of the homes are to the south part of the development, which then forces most of the people out through the east or the south. And I live in Lake Point, which is to the east. If you go out Shumard about 200 feet, you come to a street called Rook, which is the main entrance and exit from Lake Point. If you open up this the way it's going to be, people are going to flow out of Shumard and go to Rook to get up to Floating Feather. That's the only access that they'll have other than go through their own development there. If you go up Rook, right on the left-hand side of Rook is our playground for children. This development, if it goes like this, is going to force the cars to go down Shumard and then up Rook to get out to go east on Floating Feather. That's just an accident looking to happen for our children. In the morning, it's not so bad maybe with the cars that are going to be developing this new development. But in the afternoon, the kids are out of school, they're playing out there. this is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when a kid is going to get hit by additional traffic. I recommend that they move those two parks to the south part of that development, which will force all the homes up to the north, and they'll go out the north up onto Floating Feather and not come down through our development in Lake Point, and therefore not endanger our children. So that's my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Mr. Barry Pasco.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Barry Pascal, 1285 North Red Ash Avenue, Star in Lake Point. A couple of things I want to bring up. First of all, I want to thank the Sterling Homes for listening to us last time. They brought the density way down to where it aligns with other communities, which I think is fantastic. I do want to bring up a couple things that stood out to me. One thing that stood out was, again, going back to the park location. That's definitely a safety hazard. That's a four-way intersection right there. You've got kids and a park right there at a main entrance to a community. I'm not talking about the traffic through Schumer, but I'm talking about the main entrance to the community. You have a park and a lake right there, which there are going to be a lot of people there, a lot of children that are playing in that area. That's the only way into that community. It should be to the south for safety. I just want to put that on record. I think what has to be definitely part of the conditional approval is to ensure, not emphasize, but ensure there's all single story homes to the south, the adjacent community to the south, and to the east, adjacent community to the east. Not two-story, not emphasize two stories, or single stories, but for sure only single-story homes in that area. I would also like them to consider maybe a max of 10 to 15 two-story homes to align with the other communities. Not 50 two-story homes, but about 10 to 15 two-story homes in that community. The pathways. It was mentioned that they were going to try and join their path to our connecting pathway. That could be a problem. There's a liability issue in there. Our community was designed to have a separate, non-connected pathway. I don't know how that's going to come together. I don't know how that'll ever get approved, because I know that our community will not approve the pathway, their pathway connected to our pathway, mainly for liability issues. We have a lake, 2 lakes, and we don't want to have a liability potential if somebody getting injured in that lake from outside our community. And then I didn't see any plans, any of the elevations of the plans, what the homes are going to look like in their proposal. I didn't see what the 2 stories are going to look like. I didn't see what the single stories are going to look like. I didn't see what the landscaping was going to be around those homes. I didn't see what the finish was going to be on those homes. And that was not included in their proposal, which I think should be added to their proposal so we can have an idea of what kind of homes they're actually building in the community. And then I know there's one mention about we can't, or you can't control, as the councilman and the mayor, the growth of Star. But because homeowners sell, or the property owners selling not selling their property, but there is a way for you can control the growth in Star. And that's by not rezoning to higher density properties that have already been zoned to lower, that were previously zoned to lower density properties. That's how you can slow down the growth, by not rezoning properties for higher densities. You have control over that. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mayor Chadwick, I have one question for Mr. Larry.
Mr. Barry, we have a
Sorry.
question for you, sir.
Regarding the pathway, so if liability wasn't an issue, would you be okay with a shared pathway?
We would have to vote on that as a community to see if that's feasible. I know for sure that I know quite well that it probably wouldn't pass because we are a separate entity community.
So would you want to use this pathway? You know, if it's approved, would you use their pathway?
Probably not. No, wouldn't use it. If ours is separate, we wouldn't use theirs.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Miss Deanna Johnson.
Hi, my name's Deanna Johnson. I live at 1345 North Glen Aspen Avenue in Star. I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening on the Cherished Estates project. I am also here to ask you to make a motion to deny the rezone application that has been submitted by the developer. The first point I'd like to talk about is density, not lot size, but density. 100 lots is still 25% more. Sorry, let me start over. 100 lots is 25% more than are allowed under the current R2 zoning. That means 25% more traffic, school attendees, infrastructure usage than was planned for by the governing agencies. That means 180 more vehicle trips per day than the current zoning allows. The proposed density is incompatible with the existing neighborhoods and surrounding land uses and is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, which states that you want to encourage land uses that are in harmony with existing resources, scenic areas, and natural wildlife, and surrounding land uses. I just want to state that the applicant knew the current zoning was R2 when they made an offer to purchase the property. The applicant knew that the proposing a rezone was not without risk. The applicant chose to take that risk. The amount of money they spent on engineering and consultants was a choice that the applicant made. I know this was brought up at the last meeting that we should take into consideration the amount of resources that they put into the application. But I also think that that is not something that is in the guidelines of when you're looking at a rezone. And if you're taking that into account, then maybe we should also consider the amount of resources, time, and energy that constituents have put into living in Star and choosing to live there. And a lot of us, when we purchased our homes in the neighborhoods we're in, knew that that property was zoned R2 and thought that that's what it would be developed towards. The Star Comprehensive Plan makes it clear that a rezone process is discretionary, and that in order to approve a rezone request, the city must make certain statutory findings. However, the city has every right to deny a rezone without explanation. There was also talk about the quality of the developer at the last meeting, and I'm not saying one way or another what the quality of the developer is, but I don't have any proof. I don't know anything about the builder or the proposed product plan for the site. What do we know about the homes, the elevations, and what they're going to look like? I haven't seen any sample product or been able to go to a development that they've done to walk through and see what they're proposing. It would be nice to have seen some of the product that they were planning to build. And the last thing that I want to say, and this is something that one of the neighbors, Lynn Phillips, brought up at the last meeting, and it didn't get addressed at the end of the meeting by the developers, and hers was the drainage concern. So I let her know that I would ask about how they were going to make sure that drainage from their site would not impact the Lake Point neighborhood. And that is all I have, and I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay, hang on one second, Miss
So,
Deanna, go ahead.
Ms. Johnson, so you mentioned the comprehensive plan. So one of the key parts of our comprehensive plan is our future land use map. Our future land use map designates that parcel at 3 to 5 units per acre. Now, when we adopted that in 2019, not a single soul came and objected to that being increased to that density. So given that we have that, why would you think that this body would not want to respect that part of the comprehensive plan?
Well, I don't know if our development was developed at that time when you did that designation. Nobody was living in Lake Point, I believe, at that time. So none of us were here or able to respond to that comprehensive plan. And honestly, I think that if we had been here and we had been living in our community and purchased those slots, we would have been at that meeting. But many of us weren't even, dare I say, in the state yet. So we weren't here. So, and when we came in, a lot of us probably weren't looking at the comprehensive plan. We were just looking at the designated zoning. People may have had realtors that said that was, zoned R2, and you're asking those questions. So I think that whole big picture probably wasn't in a lot of people's minds. And maybe that was also done before where we're living was developed.
Okay, but that land use was in the comprehensive plan, which is in the public domain, on the internet. Your realtors all could have seen that.
Right.
And if
But-
they chose to not look at that, then,
I guess what
No.
I'm saying is it's zoned R2 though, correct? The current designated zoning of that property is R2.
right, with the future land use designation is 3 to
Mhm.
5. Yeah.
But does that mean that that's going to be 3 to 5? I guess that's what you'll need to explain to me, because if I see that it's currently designated at R2.
No, what
ours
it
was-
means is that a landowner can look at that and reasonably expect that if they come to a land use body, that the land use body would respect their own plan. That's what that means.
Okay, well,
Okay.
and just out of curiosity, so in the comprehensive plan, the community that we're in the lot next to that, was that also in the comprehensive plan as the 3 to 5?
I believe that your property was developed before we updated the comprehensive plan in 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so, all right, is that it?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Chadwick, I have another question.
One more question.
Thank you.
Goodness gracious.
So you also mentioned about the comprehensive plan. You had a statement, and it is the statement, it is in our plan. Encourage land uses that are in harmony with existing resources, scenic areas, natural wildlife areas, and surrounding land uses. Can you tell me where you see, like, this doesn't match that?
Okay, oh, where you think that increasing the zoning doesn't match that? I don't know your question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a fair, no, I mean, I think it's to encourage the land use, so, I mean,
It's all about the use, not, that section's about the use and not the number. And so if I might interpret your question, it's specifically in this section of the plan, what is inconsistent with this?
yeah, you're right.
I feel
yeah.
like it's definitely inconsistent with the neighborhood that I'm in that's right next door to it. So
Okay.
we're R2. And we were thinking consistent wise that this would be R2. Now I understand Councilman Keys, is saying that in the comprehensive plan, you have the ability to go above that. But I think you also have the ability to stick to the R2. So
Right.
I
and
feel like when I'm saying that consistency is with our development. And if, I'm walking around communities around us and the size of the houses and the lots and I don't think everything was developed to the maximum capacity necessarily in decade past.
And so am I correct? So north and south, it is our.
Could you back it up to the
Four,
map that showed it
right?
all? That would be
And-
really helpful.
Thank you. To the north and south, I believe it's R4, and to the east and west is R2. And so, if we're trying to follow, our comprehensive plan, so I'm just searching here of where that doesn't then fit, because when I look at it, it fits, it fits on the north and south side. For R3 in there, but that's all I have.
I'm kind of with you on that, Councilwoman Salmonson, because, and I think the applicant pointed this out very adeptly, that there's 300 square foot average lot size difference. And
But I know, and
is it that 300 square feet that we're honing in
no,
on?
no, my point was more just on density, not even on lot sizes. I was just purely on density. I'm just talking about density and what was considered R2 in the density and just the excess that extra density means.
Okay.
Just on resources and traffic and things like
Right.
that. So it's purely, I'm just talking density and the excess that the density brings with it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your,
Sure.
all of this. Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, Miss Deanna.
All right.
Yes, it is. All right, Mr. Rick Anderson.
Hey, good evening. Rick Anderson, 10205 West Golden Rain Street. Listen, I want to thank the developer for the work that they did to come back and, really be very, very responsive. And I think that they've done some really amazing work. That said, I just want to echo, first of all, something that Councilman Hershey said earlier on, and that is the concern, and actually you didn't list it as a concern. You just identified there are two lots there as you're coming in that could, yeah, there's two that could be combined into one. And one of the issues that we have seen, and I appreciate the comment about doing something to mitigate construction traffic, because what you have heard consistently is a concern about traffic and traffic flow. So the idea of taking that intersection, the interconnection, I should say, between the Lake Point subdivision and the Cheris Estates subdivision, and perhaps combining those lots to make that just a little bit better. But also one of the concerns and ideas that has been expressed to me is the idea of once that construction sign or barrier, whatever is gone, perhaps a speed bump there might be helpful as well. But the other thing in terms of traffic flow, and I don't know if it can be done or not, is to make it so that as you move from Lake Point into Cheris Estates, that would be a right turn only, and perhaps a come up into like more of a cul-de-sac there at the end of the street, so that there's not a lot of traffic exiting out from the Cheris Estates area. So those are a couple of the points that I wanted to make. And the final point really is echoing on a point that Mr. Hershey made in the last meeting, which was that when it comes to zoning, I think the quote is, in case there is a designated zoning and you go beyond it, that means you need to have a lot justification. And you said, what's in it for Star? And so I really appreciated the conversation that happened at the last meeting, and I appreciate what the developers have come back with. What you haven't seen is a choice. What you've seen is the conversation was come back with something under, but no more than 100. And so you have 100, but I would say that this developer has done a phenomenal job at putting together a subdivision with 100 developable lots in it, but we haven't seen what they might be able to do with an R2 designed subdivision with 80 lots or 85 lots in it, something like that. So I would say up to you, but you know, I think that this is this appears to me to be a developer that's very responsive. They've been very responsive so far. You're in the driver's seat. You get to make the determination about what's best for Star and what's best for the development in that whole part of the city. And, you know, it may be something that you want to have an option to be able to look at and make an educated decision about, you know, what do we think looks better, having them, after having them come back and give you a plat map that shows each option. Anyway, those were my comments. Thank you very much for your time.
I just want to ask you a question just real quick. When you're talking cul-de-sac, do you mind going up there and pointing out what you were talking about?
Sure.
Putting the cul-de-sac for me?
So this coming in here and then coming down, this coming up here and ending there.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Huh? Yeah.
Someone probably can. I don't know the
Let me-
names of
Let me get
those
close to my screen here.
proposed streets.
West Shumard and North Sionis or something like that. So here what I find out. Yeah, that one. Cygnus. So what I find out is when I turn 50 this year, I can't see
Yeah, well,
close anymore.
that's what happened. That's when I started
about
wearing mine all the
15.
time.
You got the two streets? That would have been 10, block 6 maybe?
I just want
Block
to
10 right
comment.
in there.
Anytime someone says Mr. Hershey said, I always cringe for a second.
I
like, oh,
know,
God.
right?
All right.
So I could have quoted all of you. The last thing I did want to, I was asked to leave you with this question, and that is, will these all of these homes be homes that are available for sale as opposed to rental homes when they, as in we have a designated rental community to the east of us already. But just, I was asked to ask that question, wanted to make sure we got it in.
All right.
Thank you very
good.
much.
Thank you, sir. So Miss Kate Bartles, I have two of you on here. Is there really two Kate Bartles or just one? Is it just one? Okay, all right. Because both of you want to speak, so I don't know what.
Brian gave me some more jokes this week as well, and they were just way worse than last time. So I'll
I'm
save
really
you.
disappointed that I didn't hear them the first time.
They had
Come
to do
on.
with like archery, and after that I kind of went, oh no.
That's
But,
right. Kate,
the only comment that I had.
just name and address real
Oh,
quick,
sorry.
please.
Caitlin Bartles, and then it's 3509 West Bavaria.
Okay, thank you.
And the only comment I had was we did feel like the developer listened to a lot of the requirements that we specifically outlined. However, some people brought up the lake was kind of a concern for quite a few people. So it would be nice to see that being moved towards the back for not only the safety concerns, but that traffic congestion. So it is forcing them out that front exit to Floating Feather. And then the only other comment is probably just a comment from myself, but it would have been nice to see the proposed CCNRs. I don't know if those were in the packet or not, just because those would, they tell a lot about what a neighborhood, a subdivision will be like, and it would have answered the questions about, the previous rental community, what the regulations on that would be. So that's only my comment and a / question is if they do have any insight to any unique aspects of what the CCNRs would be like, or if they do have a proposed standard one. Those would be my questions, but that's all I have for
Okay.
you guys.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen.
no jokes means you get questions.
You do? Oh, okay.
And I wish Brian were here to get these questions, but you'll have to pass them on.
That's
So, joking aside, I'm curious as far as the rentals go. Are you familiar with the U.S. Fair Housing Act?
Vaguely.
Vaguely, that's fine. I'm not asking if you're an expert. I'm not sure that we can even consider whether or not these homes are for sale or rent in these proceedings, because I think that the Fair Housing Act takes precedent over and answers those questions. Sure, I'm not sure that we can answer questions regarding whether homes are for sale or rent in these proceedings. It's my understanding that the United States Fair Housing Act takes precedence and answers those questions for us. And so we wouldn't be necessarily ruling on that here tonight. I'm looking over there and I'm seeing nods, so I'm a little comforted there. And I'm curious, as far as pushing traffic out of the sub, are you aware whether or not your clients over on the eastern part of that subdivision exit through the Yellowstone subdivision and use that access way over there?
On the south side of their neighborhood,
On the east side.
the furthest east side, but goes
Right.
down into the other neighborhood.
It travels east and then out to Floating Feather through the Yellowstone subdivision?
No, I don't have any
Okay.
like quote or estimate for you. No.
All right,
that
thank
would
you.
be it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Caitlin. Okay, we got one left here. I could, said possibly would like to speak. Miss Debbie Forback? No? Okay. All right. All right, so now we'll turn that over to the applicant to answer these questions. I hope you have a list.
If I missed something, I apologize. I've got all my notes. Mayor, members of the council, I appreciate the opportunity to answer some of these questions. One of the things that the project has been conditioned on is to, and part of the comp plan is to make connectivity or endeavor to make that connectivity. We do understand some concerns about the adjacent neighborhood allowing the pedestrian connection that we're providing. And I think, as I said last time, if that is just not allowed or not permitted, we still want to have pedestrian connectivity for this neighborhood. We'd certainly incorporate into this project approval the ability for the adjacent neighborhoods to utilize the pedestrian access ways through our project. And so it's sort of a, we're going to endeavor to comply with the conditions where we're required to connect to the existing pedestrian pathways of the adjacent communities. But if there's not something allowed for us to allow a pedestrian connectivity, if it's blocked or not approved by the adjacent neighborhoods, we'd accommodate the pedestrian connectivity up to that central road, as I had mentioned last time, because of the additional depth of those lots. And then it could go to the public sidewalk. I was flipping through my last notes, and we didn't hear as much concern with the park and a pond at the last hearing on July 6th. We did have various iterations of the plan that we worked on with staff, and we did place this sort of based on the recommendation of staff. I do want to point out, we are not on Floating Feather. I know there's a park on Floating Feather just directly to the west. We are set back. This will be managed managed privately by the community, and I'm trying to understand, that it seemed like there was a concern that placement of that park affects the trip distribution. And I don't know, I do understand, maybe if it could affect, where trips are coming, if people are going to come to this park or how they're going to go, but I don't know if it would have a significant effect on the trip distribution that was calculated in the TIS that we have. So again, we didn't just say, hey, this is where the park's going, this is where the lake's going. We had site plan iterations, and this is where, along with staff, in concert with staff, we placed it and for consideration. One of the things that was brought up is the elevations. In the last presentation we had, we did have some conceptual elevations that we were proposing. We don't have new elevations because, as you guys know, a byproduct of site planning, the elevations will be contingent on the size of lots you're building. So these lots just increase significantly, and so we're going to be developing floor plans, elevations, and we're going to do something that we think the existing neighborhood, especially to the east, and actually all the neighborhoods are very tasteful and well done, and we're going to endeavor to have excellent product. Our company's building, we do a variety of product, but we're building custom lots in Legacy and Eagle, and we want to do something very wonderful for Star. But again, we just, depending on if we're able to get an approval of this lot size, that's going to dictate the type of product type we design. There were comments about, this is not consistent with the comp plan. It isn't consistent because we're less dense than the comp plan, but we understand, based on what everything has been conveyed by the community and by the council, that in order for you guys to consider something or any adjustment to the zoning, we needed to come below what the comp plan says, and that's what we're proposing and asking you for your consideration on tonight. The other thing that it was brought up by Councilwoman Nielsen, about the for rent. We are not a planning and are not a for rent builder like there are other companies that use that as their model. We're planning for this to be a for sale units. That being said, there's housing and urban development and various federal laws that preclude us from saying that we're going to ensure that none of these houses are being for rent, but our intention is to build these as for sale units. And then related to the CC&Rs, we do that a lot with final map. When we finalize the construction documents, we have more information on the HOA, and also, having the CC&Rs drafted, is not, it is premature at this point until we know what the actual project is, but we have, we will be disclosing everything consistent with the whatever project approval is granted on this. But that's a reason we don't have the CCNRs presented at this time in the development process. I don't know if I missed anything, but if I did, I'm here to answer those questions along with my development team. And again, very much appreciate all of the community input. We appreciate all of the city council's input on this. And we just thank you for your consideration very much.
Any questions of the applicant? Councilman Nielsen?
Thank you. Could you address the, or at least speak to the request for a speed bump or that cul-de-sac type adjustment to the streets?
You know, I don't necessarily know if we'd be allowed to implement traffic calming by the agency that's taking over the improvements, but if there was a request to explore and look at traffic calming as it goes into the adjacent neighborhood, we could certainly do that. Also, the blocking that intersection off to not have that connect there seems to run contrary to what staff had recommended when we were site planning it. So I would ultimately, the improvement plans and the final plat is going to be approved by staff. If there was a desire to block that off and have that be a right turn not connecting into there, it's feasible. I just don't know if it's something that city staff would want or if it would be acceptable.
Would ACHD, do you think, in your work?
I don't think
I
so.
mean, that's different altogether than from what I've seen.
Yes.
So,
It's a, you know, the idea is there's an existing neighborhood with a stubbed roadway, and we're meeting that connection and then incorporating that into our, and I do know HCHD does have issues with implementation of various traffic calming. One of the things though, based on that design, is it's not, it's not a straight road. There is a bend in the road, so there will be some traffic calming. And if the city wanted us to implement, signage, something of that nature to try to ease the speed of which traffic would travel, we could do that. Addressing that specific comment, I just don't know if the approving agencies would allow for it.
And I think from my perspective, I'm not sure that the city of Star can require you to do anything like that, but I would like for you to ask ACHD.
Okay.
If there is any sort of traffic calming measure that could be implemented right there as the.
Absolutely.
And certainly whatever they require is what both of us will have to abide by. I think that was the only question I had at this point.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Hershey?
Tying into that traffic, there was talk about the traffic being on the main road between the two parks, coming in and out of the subdivision, the main entrance, which will be most likely heavily utilized. Something I learned recently, and I want to bounce this off somebody, make sure I'm correct, but when you have a four-way intersection in a subdivision, it's required by ACHD to have a stop sign. Is that not correct?
I believe so. I believe that will be a four-way stop right at that entrance.
Because I had one pop up in my neighborhood. I think I learned it from you. Oh, so there it is. It's actually, I think it's a requirement. Yeah. Yeah, so four ways, there will be stop signs implemented at the four ways. They're not needed at T's, but they are needed at four ways in neighborhoods. It's required. So that'll actually help with traffic in that direction, I do believe.
So can we,
Yeah, at least 2 ways.
can we add something somewhere that, like, you said it was added, you asked for the stop sign?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Keys?
So there was an addition done in our subdivision where they added some townhouses. And so what was a T intersection, which didn't require a stoplight, went to a local road that intersected with a collector. And ACHD policy says that those local roads, when it's a four-way, that you should have a stop sign on the two local roads, but not on the collector.
Right.
So that's why there's two stop signs there now.
Okay, so we'll just have ACHD dictate that. Any further questions of the applicant?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Keys?
So, I guess this is more of a kind of a rearranging the furniture question than anything else. But, you know, there's been some concern from the neighbors about the park being close to Floating Feather, that there's the potential that's going to drive traffic in directions that you know, aren't Floating Feather. And I'm looking at the, I guess what we'll call the East Park, you know, the one that's across the street from your ponds. And I'm wondering if we could just rearrange the furniture a little bit, maybe move that down to the intersection of Cygnus and Golden Rain and put those houses up where the park is. And number one, it splits your parks up a little bit, so the neighbors to the south have access to a park. And number two, pushes some of that density up a little closer to Floating Feather. And I'm wondering if that's would be something you'd consider doing.
And I guess I would just ask staff, you know, if that was something, would that be something we'd be conditioned to do, or we would have to come back with a revised plat? I'm just curious. Okay.
Yeah. I'd be happy if you'd agree to do it. I'd be happy to do it as a condition of approval.
And just so I'm clear, just so I'm not,
You can go up to the map.
talking roughly this area?
Yeah, move that East Park down to that area. And actually, it's roughly the same shape and same size.
You know, I am an employee of a company, and I want to make sure that if we make an adjustment to a site plan, I think
Mayor Chadwick.
we can accommodate it.
Councilman Nielsen?
Thank you. As you're thinking about this and checking with your employer, one of the things that I like about the park being in that spot is your tree-lined entrance. And so I would ask that if we are moving houses up there, can we preserve that tree-lined entrance and maintain that look and feel?
What I can commit to, and if my employer drags me away from the podium, just maybe that commitment won't be there. But yes, we can commit to the tree layout that we have at the entrance, and it looks like it's roughly the same acreage, and we can move it to that area that I'd gone up to the screen and shown.
Okay.
So or rearrange the furniture is an easier way to say it.
Okay, so I don't see the hook coming out, so I'm
I'm
assuming
good.
that's consent.
I'm not looking.
Well,
So we'll have the,
There's, yeah, if it fits and it's acreage to acreage, I think if we can accommodate it, we'll do it.
okay? You have more? Because I have a question.
See, so I believe we talked about at the last meeting about the dedicating a pathway easement for the south and west pathway to the city. So that would be dedicated and open to the public.
That's correct.
Okay, and you had, there was a question by Mr. Pasco about single-story homes all along the south and the east. And I think what you've offered is to match single-story to single-story.
Yeah, if it's a single story, we'll match it. And if it's a two-story, we might put a single story there, but we would match it. But if there's a single story along the south or east, we're going to plot a single story.
Okay, so that you will match single-story to single-story.
Yes.
And we won't condition what you do next to two stories.
Yes.
Good? Okay, with your ponds, I don't know if, Sean, did we put in our code about life safety stations? Okay, so they'll have life safety stations in there, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman?
So I just want to make sure, you're not asking for any setback waivers in the R3, are you?
No.
You're not looking for, okay. And then my other question regarding the pond, is there, I don't know how like the swimming thing works in ponds. Is there plans to, you know, like people are in the water, or I mean, you do have a sandy beach there, so I would make the assumption that they would be in the water.
Yes.
So is there something I'm new to this, like, is there something in the CCNRs for treating the ponds?
Yes.
And all of that? Okay.
And health code and it'd be managed by our HOA and we'd comply with everything that's in the city code. So absolutely.
Okay. And then, I mean, like, it includes like no motorized boats and
Yes,
all of that?
just
Okay.
pedestrian.
Okay. And I would fully support moving the park down. I think that just spreads it out a little bit. So I appreciate that idea.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant?
Sorry, I have
Okay,
one
one
more.
more.
Yep, thank you. So I can't remember if we discussed this before with the frontage along Floating Feather. There's in front of Lake Point, there is a irrigation canal, and it is overgrown with weeds. And if that's irrigation or ACHD, whoever owns that, it's really bad. And so I just want to make sure that this property does not have the same issue along Floating Feather. I don't believe that there's a canal there, but if there, like ACHD, if there's some sort of buffer between the roadway and the sidewalk, with it being detached, somehow that can be treated. I don't know how we do that.
It doesn't have the canal. The canal crosses the street there and goes on the other side.
Okay, so more than likely that would not be an issue with the overgrown weeds because they don't have water,
Yeah,
correct?
yes,
Okay.
no.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant before we close the public hearing? How about questions of staff?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
so the applicant has said that they're going to endeavor to move that park. And so I'm going to encourage staff to hold their feet to the fire and make sure they work really hard to do that. So, okay. Yep.
Okay, any further questions? I'm going to close the public hearing if there's none.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing none, then I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you, and we're on the council deliberations.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen.
A couple of things. Number one, again, thank you for listening to the people that came out and testified both last time and here tonight, as well as the council. Very well done. As mentioned before, this application does not comply with all of the comprehensive plan because it actually goes kind of the opposite way that we normally see. But I believe that this is in compliance with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan, primarily in the text, but also in the land use as well. I think it's a good combination between the R2 and the R3 to 5 that was anticipated for this area. One of the things that I really like about this coming to us for a rezone is it gives us the opportunity to add the development agreement. And for me, that's important for a couple of things. Number one, it gives us the ability to put a lot of things into that development agreement that make this a development that echoes a lot of the things that we've heard from you folks here tonight and at our last meeting as well. It also allows us to collect the ITD proportionate share of funding for improvement of state highways. Without that, there would be no way for us to collect that. And this applicant did not have to come to us for this hearing. They could have developed at R2, and they could have done all kinds of things that with that existing right. And because they didn't do that, they came here tonight, and we got to put our fingerprints all over the application and the final results. And I'm really appreciative of that. I think that is much better for STAR than what potentially could have been otherwise. So I've heard here tonight that 25% density, more density means more than what was planned. And I think Councilman Keys, you addressed that pretty well. Our comp plan did anticipate greater than R2 density there. I also heard a comment about there's no resources pertaining to developer investment or quality, or that there were comments made about resources that the developer invested in and that we were considering the quality of the developer. None of those things are taken into consideration here, and I think I speak for the council on this. None of us consider those type of things when making land use decisions. I'm not sure what those comments were in reference to, but I just wanted to make that very clear that that's not part of our decision-making process here tonight. I also heard, what can they do with R2? We haven't seen that. And I kind of addressed that already, but I don't know that I wanted to see what can you do with R2, because I wanted to see what can you do with a development agreement and with some of these other things that make it better for Star, and instead of just something that happened without coming before this body. And then we also heard a request here for, can we make the whole thing or most, percentage of it single-story homes? My preference is that we stay away from the single story as much as possible on the basis of setbacks. When you get to single story, 5-foot setbacks are available. And to me, that's a real stack and pack solution that I want to see us stay away from. And so when you get into that second story, our code does require the minimum of 10-foot setback. I think that's better for Star and for the appearance of density. We've already talked about the moving of the park. So those were the things that I've considered and kind of brought to the forefront of my mind as I've looked at this. Like I said, it's at a point where I'm ready to move ahead with it.
Okay, any further deliberation?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys?
I'd like to extend the councilman's comments regarding the development agreement. So without the rezone request, we don't get the ability to ask for a dedicated easement for that pathway. And I know that the neighbors to the east say that they don't want that access, but frankly, I think that their kids might want that access to get over to Hunters Creek Park. We'll see how that evolves, because I used to be a kid and I know how that works. The other thing that we wouldn't get is we wouldn't get the ability to require the developer to match single story to single story. Without a development agreement, that doesn't exist. And so there are things that the city gets to do and that we get to ask for you when we have a development agreement, and we only get that if there's a rezone. So we had asked the applicant to come back with a plan that had 100 or less homes. They've done that. I think that they've made some other concessions for pathways. They're going to greatly endeavor to move that park. And frankly, when I look at this, I think they'll be able to do it if they put their head to that. So I'm supportive of this project and ready to move to motions when everybody else is ready.
Okay, any further comments?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
I move that we approve this application based on the basis that it is in compliance with our comprehensive plan, the goals and objectives of the city, that the applicant has met and agreed to all the standards put forth by all the agencies that have commented and have jurisdiction, and do so with the conditions of approval that the applicant works with city staff on a reasonable solution for moving the park. And so what other?
Combining lots
That's right.
1
I
and
knew there was
2
one other thing.
in Block
Combining
8.
Block 8, lots 1 and 2 into a single lot.
Working with ACHD on traffic calming.
Working with ACHD on the traffic calming there with, where it connects with the Lake Point subdivision.
And single story along. Did we say that already? Single story along.
That should be in the development
Yeah,
agreement.
I think that's in there
right?
already.
Okay.
So I can include that we match single story to single story along the south and the east.
In the DA?
Yes.
And that we have a pathway easement for the pathway
Oh.
along the southern and western boundaries.
Then that we have the pathway easement along the southern and western boundaries.
Second.
Do you, Sean, have all of that?
I do. Do you also want to add the control the access for construction through phases?
Yes.
Do you have that on there?
Control the access, the construction access?
Yes, I'll put that in there, that during construction phases, the construction traffic is controlled and prohibited between this development at Lake Point and the subdivision to the south as well, excepting for emergency vehicles.
I'll amend my second accordingly.
And then, Mr. Mayor and Council, I've got one concern about the pathway easement along the south. I think it needs to be clear in the motion what you're expecting the developer to construct, because again, I don't think you can require them to connect a public pathway to a private pathway to the east without the acceptance of the private property owners. So I would suggest.
So this section here, maybe
Correct. I would
leave it out?
suggest have that as a public
Grass.
easement,
Okay,
but then hold off on the construction of that portion of the pathway and suggest that the developer work with the development to the east to secure that
So
access.
I like where you're going with that. In my mind, I was thinking that construction would continue to the limit of the property. In my mind, it would be better to do that than to just leave that open to foot traffic on an unimproved
Correct.
pathway.
But we also don't want to lose the ability to connect it publicly at some future date. if
Right.
We can. That makes sense, because if you build it and they put up a fence, then people are gonna be jumping over the fence. You're gonna create all new problems for Ryan, the code enforcement.
I don't want to create
Officer.
problems for anyone.
Yeah.
Is
And
it-
the folks also.
I'm okay with whatever is clear in your mind on
Okay.
that particular
So
topic.
I'll come back. You got the intent. I'll come back with a condition and the findings that'll address that.
okay.
Thank you.
We got a amended motion then?
Yep.
Amended
Amended
second.
second. Any further discussion?
I just really think that park should be moved. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
And
All
then,
right.
yeah, and all the
Hearing,
other.
hearing, no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess before we jump into the next one. Okay, technology. We just gotta make sure we got it all. It's 9:26, and we're gonna reconvene this meeting. We're gonna go to item 7D, the public hearing for the Whitener Property Development Agreement modification. So I'll ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication regarding this.
None.
None.
Okay, hearing none, we will have the applicant come up. I was like, I know, I thought I saw you here. Did you leave?
Just about. Jeff Likes, 1119 East State Street, Eagle, Idaho, 83616. Again, technology. Well, good evening, council and Mr. Mayor. We are here on behalf of 10206 West State Street, LLC. And we are respectively requesting a development agreement modification for the site located at 10206 West State Street there in Star. The original development agreement was approved in July of 2020. And the original development agreement called for the approval of 20 residential units, again, on the north side of First Street there. We'll use your stuff. And our proposal is to, again, keep the residential units north of the future First Street and keep the commercial portion of that south of the future First Street and State Street. But our proposal is to increase our residential from 20 to 30 units. Part of our proposal is, you'll see here on the plan, we've oriented it. Do you have the original one? It was.
Here we go.
There we go. So the original one had 4 commercial units on the, I will call it the south of this project along State Street, with 2 commercial units north of First Street and then residential units north of that. The reason we're reoriented and proposing to push all of the commercial south of First Street is First Street will be a division line as it gets developed further east and west. When that'll happen, that'll be up to the developers next, as the parcels develop around. But we think, and we have just from dealing with commercial projects over the last couple decades, anything north of First Street on a commercial realm will have a hard time leasing and a hard time staying full. And so our proposal is to turn all that into residential, keep everything we have commercial south along State Street. With that, you'll see on there, we've got 22,700 square feet of commercial space, and we're proposing an additional 10,600 square feet of commercial space for 2 stories. Some of those can go 2 stories. That would be used for office uses or rooftop restaurant type uses along State Street, or even just along those back to commercial uses there. We understand that we are asking for an increase in residential uses, which on the comprehensive plan is a 70-30 mix, 70 commercial use with a 30% residential use along this corridor. Again, I'll restate that I think that needs to be looked at in terms of everything south of First Street to everything north of First Street. We are proposing these to have the opportunity to be a live-work unit as well. We are going to, does this have a pointer? Oh, it does, perfect. These 3 units that face First Street, we will redesign and allow them to have a separated entrance that faces First Street with a separate office to make them a true live-work in that scenario there along First Street. To give you a little idea on what we're going to plan, the townhome idea there, they're going to be higher end finishes and quality. The commercial buildings will also be on the higher end quality as to not detract from each other. We've seen projects where one end is maybe the residential isn't so the higher quality, and it just doesn't work out very well. So we're proposing to do higher end quality there with higher end quality on the residential as well. Our townhomes will consist of 2 stories with enclosed garages. Can you go to the next page, Trevor? Maybe one more.
Which one? I'm sorry.
Well, I can show you that one too, but there's a floor plan in there as well.
This one?
There you go. Thank you. We have an enclosed 2-car garage on the first floor with all of the living space on the first floor. And the next slide, Trevor. Thank you. And on the second floor, we have a 3-bedroom unit, and there's the opportunity for the live work there in that office area as well. We will be bringing in high-speed internet, which I believe is in State Street today, from what I understand. The units will be in a range of about 1,900 square feet per unit, and are going to be roughly 29 to 30 feet tall, and they're 2 stories. We understand the need for the commercial use along State Street. I understand the city's wants and desires to have commercial along State Street. In the original development agreement, it was stated that the developer would build at least 50% of the commercial when 50% of the residential was constructed. We agree with that, and we're going to take it a step sooner, or to a step beyond that. Our intent is to start at least the 2 commercial projects that are along State Street as soon as the entitlements are complete. I know it takes a little bit of time to get the entitlements for the townhomes done with, plats and other things for that. But the entitlements for the commercial uses along State will be much quicker. And our intent is to start those right away as soon as we can. So as stated in the staff report, this project has been through several developers that have passed on the project due to the ratio of commercial to residential. And my clients, they're committed to STAR, and they're committed to creating a project that is viable for both the city and the residences of STAR. And again, we're committed to this whole project. We're committed to the commercial and the residential realm of it. And we appreciate staff and their hard work on this. And just like to point out that they have recommended approval, and we share in their findings as well. And I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions of the applicant at this time?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
so just kind of doing thumbnail math here, it looks like you're proposing going from 29,000 square feet of commercial to 23,000 square feet of commercial.
33,300 with our second story. What you see there, yes, is 22,700. What you don't see there is during our discussion, since we've turned this in, we are going to add an additional roughly 10,000 square foot of second story onto that area. So it's a little over 32,000, 33,000 square feet of commercial.
Do you have tenants already lined up for those front two buildings?
We are speaking to some now, but I don't have any locked down yet.
Okay. So in our comprehensive plan in the CBD and we zoned this, I believe it was mixed use, and we went from mixed use to CBD last time you were here. So it says that residential suitable within the CBD and mixed use buildings with commercial or office type uses on the first floor, high density residential on the upper floors. So we compromised and said that instead of doing that, that we're going to split this thing up to this commercial use and this residential use. And so now you want to kind of renegotiate this. And I guess what I'm trying to understand is when you have a development agreement, that typically is a negotiation from both sides. And I'm wondering if you can list clearly what I understand what the benefits are to you, but what are the benefits to the city of Star for doing this?
Yeah, so according to what I understand, we did not do the first development agreement. So we're coming in this secondhand. So, I have read it, we've read it. What I understand that has been approved currently today is the commercial up front and 20 units of residential in the back. There's not a mixed use portion on the front. So we are offering more commercial on the front with a two-story, with some two-story as well along State Street, which is where Star needs it, which is going to drive the commercial. And so that would be a trade-off for us for doing the residential behind.
Okay. That's all I have for now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any further questions?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman?
thank you. I'm not quite sure I'm ready to let that particular point go. I was kind of thinking same lines as Councilman Keys. So understanding what's in the DA already, but you're coming back to us for a change. So I think the historical part of this conversation is really important because the way the DA was crafted was a compromise on what is in what we were looking for in the CBD zone. And now you're coming back and wanting to renegotiate that. And so I'm leaning more toward, let's go back to what is contemplated to be in the CBD zone, which would be that commercial element on the bottom with residential up on top. And you've actually positioned the buildings, I think, better on the lot to support that kind of thing. And so I guess I'm curious as to what your thoughts are is for, especially those two there in front, placing residential up on top of those 5,000 and 7,000 square foot buildings, and even the two in the back, honestly.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
So you're talking about placing residential on the retail stuff up in the front?
Right.
Versus having two-story all retail?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just want to be clear.
That is what the CBD zone contemplates for this particular area.
Mr. Mayor? So Councilman Nielsen, so are you suggesting then that we don't increase the density in the back and put as increased density on top of those buildings?
I'm not sure that I'm suggesting that. I'm thinking that could be in addition. And so that it achieves what we've contemplated for that zone. I'm not fully thought out here. This is just a conversation.
So
No, I-
it sounds to me like what you're trying to suggest or propose is to offer even more residential density than the applicant's even asking for.
Potentially.
Okay, you can answer that first, Jeff, before we get going.
I will answer that with the question, I guess, statement question is, I understand we are already over, or I should say under, the requirement of commercial to residential. So what you're suggesting is we add more residential would put us further under the comprehensive plan of a 30-70 mix with more commercial to residential.
More residential to commercial.
Sorry. Yes, I'm getting that backwards.
More
all day.
residential to commercial.
Flip the denominator either way.
Yeah.
So may I was thinking along that same lines, but instead, you added the commercial footprint on the bottom of the entire property, but add the residential up on top. And so, it's less of the townhome pier space in the back, but you add some residential up front on top of commercial.
Yeah, as I read the staff report and as you've represented, it seems that it sat for over a year now and development keeps passing on it. A vacant lot is not good in a downtown part of the city either. So I'm encouraged, I want to find a way to encourage development of the lot so that it completes and doesn't just sit there. But if we add that commercial back there, I think that presents maybe the same type of problem. But I'm not trying to suggest that we do anything that's further out of line with the comprehensive plan. I'm not sitting here doing math. I'm sitting here thinking about our CBD zone and what we contemplated for that and how can we achieve those goals. And if that requires that we, pull some density out of that residential back there and put it up front on top of the commercial, then, to maintain a ratio, I'm good with that too. But I guess what I'm looking for is just a conversation. How do we achieve the goals, the original goals? Because now we're, the compromise we reached is not viable.
So has there been any interest at all for entire commercial area for that? Or do we, maybe that's more of a staff question? No?
Not with anyone that I've talked to over the last year and a half. There hasn't been.
And I can help answer some of that.
Yeah,
with-
is that because
You know,
of
I've been doing this.
access?
I've been doing this a long time. Well, I guess I'm not as old as Trevor, but I've been doing this a long time. And anything that far off of State Street it's just not going to lease. It's too hard to keep it leased. There's no visibility, and commercial drives on visibility, right? Where there live work units, somebody who's a State Farm Insurance or works out of his house because he works for someone at a state. That's what that's gonna thrive on, is somebody who is going to move here, is going to need a home office, because as we all know, over the last year, that has been a big push. We have done a ton of home offices and converted, this type of unit to go to a live work, where people live there, they use their home office, but yet they can enjoy everything that's around. So in knowing this well, if we put a first story of all, call it commercial, retail, whatever it is, it will turn into, it won't be leased. And just the economics won't make sense, which is why we haven't seen anybody go about it yet. It's been about 2 years. I know it's sat vacant, because the development agreement was done in 2020. It's not that long ago. It's only a year ago. But it's been pushed through since 2018 was when they started working on the development agreement. And so our proposal is to keep those as the opportunity to live, work north with all of the commercial on the south side, just for visibility purposes.
So I thought you said that just the south units would be live work.
No, sorry, I can.
Or is it the entire?
It's the entire
okay.
townhomes all have the option to be a live work. They've all got that space in them. On what I was saying was all of these units, the 3 units there, because they front First Street, we would add the additional entrance and, option to, we'd build it, but it would be the additional entrance to come off of First Street to enter into that portion
Gotcha.
of the unit. So they will have a separate entrance for their office, separate entrance for the living on those 3 units because they face First Street.
Yeah, so I went back and looked at the original when we first had the first public hearing. And then we had a workshop. I don't know if you went back and looked at any of that.
I have not seen the workshop.
So this plan that you have here in front of us is very similar to the very first plan that we saw. And we asked the applicant to go back and, come up with some other more commercial, basically. And then we had a workshop with them and we came up with, what the current thing is. So now I feel like, well, we're back to square one. But
So let me ask you this. So the first one, we had about, 28,000 square feet of commercial with the 6 buildings, right?
Correct.
And if you make these 2-story commercials, that would put us where?
33, 32.
Just a little over 33,000.
Plus these 3 as being live work with an office storefront on the bottom 3, basically, right? With the residential. in the back.
Correct. Correct.
And the remainder of these units having a home office style.
Correct. There is a home office in that floor plan. There is a home office on the 2nd floor, which has been dedicated. It could be used as a home office. It's not a bedroom, nor is it a family room like the 1st floor.
I mean,
So
that's not a commercial use though. I mean, that's like using
No,
a spare
no.
bedroom, right?
What, you mean on the first 3?
No, on the rest of them.
Well, the rest of them, correct. I'm just talking the first 3 are going to be more of a office style commercial.
Correct. The first 3 along First Street are definitely a more office style live work area. The others have the opportunity to be a live work because we have dedicated office space in them. It is not walled off as bedrooms with closets. It's, an office space.
If I can add, I remember the first hearing as well, and the neighbors had concern back then on the, the footprint that the back had. Now this model here has a much less of a footprint to their consideration. And that's one thing I really like about this. And I'll be quite honest, I think the first 3 will be work office things because of the way they're going to design them. The others are going to be townhouses that people live in. If you work out of them, it's like me. I work out of my house because now I have to. So, it's not, I didn't ever want to, but now I am. And I can't wait to get back to the fire center. But the question I had was you doubling, for lack of better terms, adding to the 2nd story. Is that to try to keep the ratio better, or is it because you have someone that says, hey, I could really use 10,000 square feet in the building instead of 7?
It's both. So yes, it does increase our commercial ratio, but along here, we really do see people needing either a 2-story office or a restaurant type use wanting a rooftop patio. They're becoming more and more popular. The outdoor eating areas and all that, if we have extra space, which can be used for that, most buildings are not built that way. And so the extra square footage on top allows us to have that option.
Yeah, and I realize this is CBD, and I realize it's something we worked very hard to establish and create. However, this is a very narrow, long lot. And quite honestly, the way this lays out is the best one I've seen so far. I do believe it has less impact. Now, we have not heard from anyone else that's testified, and I will definitely take that into consideration. But I'd like to hear what the people on this list say. See a list. Let's see what they have to say.
That's all of us.
You're
I'm
all
pretty
against
sure.
it?
Talked our way through yours a little bit, your question, I guess, or your comment, but.
Well, I'm not a developer, so I don't know what's viable and not viable. I think it's, it's a shame that the original hasn't worked out and is proving to not be viable. Because this lot does present some of those challenges. So, and and I apologize, I must have missed the part about the second story development on the commercial. So these are all going to be developed with second story space in them, or you're saying
Not-
there's potential?
Not all of them. We have an additional, if we developed 2 and 2, 1 and 1 of each side or whatever, we have additional 10,600 square feet. So not all 4 buildings, but 2 of them are looking like they'll be developed with an extra. I mean, we'll get an additional 10,000 square feet out of it, whether we do 1 or 2 or 3. Depending on how that all lays out, we actually may combine a building in the back and make it bigger. For there, I know that will come forward in design review of those portions. Which I understand that's, I mean, we'll get to the design review.
Right.
I mean, this is, modification, at least we can talk about what our plans are for that. And yes, it is to at least get another 10,000 square feet of rentable area out of that. Most likely office or restaurant use.
So let me ask Sean a question. Did the original development agreement have ITD proportionate share, or was that before we started that last year?
It was before.
Was it before? I think it was, right?
I think it was before. We did require the First Street, and we required up to $25,000 for the signal light.
Oh, okay.
And I
the
don't
share
believe,
of
I
the
don't
light.
believe we had the proportionate share. Let me check.
Mayor Chadwick.
Mr. Mayor?
Hang on, Ms.
So
Jennifer.
another question for staff and maybe you, has there been any movement on the First Street development?
We need a development to start it.
This would probably be the first,
This is one that would
Uh-huh.
start it.
first in the link, and
Yeah.
it'll kind of establish where that road's going to go for the properties to the
East and
Okay.
west.
east and west.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say, and we did have a neighborhood meeting as required. The only thing that they had to say, to be honest, was connecting First Street to Seneca Springs. That was their big hangup.
Well, you're talking through the Spite Strip over there?
That is correct.
Okay, yeah.
And I understand that's not what we're dealing with.
No, we're not.
But
dealing
it
with
is, that was one of their comments was that we are giving them extra space in the north above and beyond our required setback, just to give them a little buffer, which they enjoyed. They did like the mixed use portion of it, all of the commercial down below, along State with the townhomes behind. A couple were concerned about the density or the ratios at that point, but that was one person out of
Mr. Mayor, we do have a condition in the current development agreement to have that open space there on the north to protect the neighbors and also for the proportionate share. We did put that
Okay,
in there.
all right, good. All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Excuse me, Councilman Keys?
So on First Street, you're showing a bunch of pull-in parking spots. Have you reviewed that with ACHD? Are they down with that?
We have not talked to ACHD yet. In my experience, it is allowed. First Street, I don't think First Street here will be, we have done normal collectors or normal just through streets where I pulled and parked off of that. And in my experience, it has been able to be used that way.
Okay.
But that would be something that ACHD would have to approve because that would be a.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there had been conversations about that yet, so.
So I guess just to go back to this, if we were to approve this with a change in the development agreement, we need to state the number of square feet for commercial, those 3 units there, things like that, right?
Sure.
Right?
If that's what you're basing your decision on. you
Well,
can be as-
whether
you can be
it's
as
4
specific-
buildings
you can be as
or-
specific as you
Right.
want in the
Okay.
development agreement.
All right.
So I have a question about sorry, I just
No, go ahead.
interrupted. So I noticed on your revised plan here, it says multifamily unit, but this is for a single family attached, right?
That is correct. So they are single family townhomes, but they're attached. So they fall under building code, they fall under multifamily because they are attached. They're not fall under the residential code. They fall under the commercial code.
So, Mr. Mayor and Councilwoman, they would come back with a preliminary plat at some future date
To get
create
that.
the lots. Yeah, and I guess they would ask for 0 lot lines on the attached units.
Okay.
That's correct.
And
I
then
believe that might
we'd
already
work
be,
out
they
the
might already be in there.
Parking
Yes.
and all that at the preliminary plat down the road. Okay.
Okay,
And they already do have the allowance for the 0 lot lines in the existing development agreement to accomplish that.
all right. Any other questions of the applicant? Any more statements, Jeff? We kind of cut you off there, sir.
I'm used to it. No, I have no more statements.
Any further questions of the applicant?
Not at this time.
Oh, microphone.
Are we opening this up for public comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to reserve the rest of my statements till afterwards.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
very good. Okay, thank you. So when I have the public testimony sheet, there's 5 people that signed up. All for it. No one wants to speak. So, huh?
Anyone change their mind?
Yeah, anybody want to speak that signed up, the 5? Bill, Tim, Evan, and Tony. Negative? Okay, that is all. So, Mr. Jeff, come back, please.
Should have just stayed up here.
Would you like to rebut? He has more questions, I know that.
I agree with all of the approval. There were guys that want to testify in approval of it.
Yeah.
There was
Okay,
5 of them.
Councilman Keys, I know you have some questions.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, so, we're looking at potentially increasing the commercial, you said, to 33,000 square feet? Is that what you said, or 35?
If you give me a second, I can tell you the exact number.
It keeps going up.
Every time
I
I
was,
turn
I was
around.
hoping for 40, but 45.
I'm not a math whiz, so just give me a couple seconds. 33,300.
So when I'm looking at this, what we're looking to do, I'm just going to summarize this, is to increase the amount of commercial and increase the residential density. So basically, we're just looking at making this a more intensive land use, period. And to me, in a CBD, I mean, that's where you want your intensive land uses.
I thought you had more
Yeah.
questions.
No, I'm just kind of trying to noodle through here. So,
Can I ask him some questions while you're noodling?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Hey, just real quick, Mr. Jeff.
Yes, sir.
We are in the process of updating our CBD architectural overlay. With a lot of, there's stone and wood looks and stuff like that for the commercial side of that. Would you be willing to work towards that for this? We haven't adopted it yet. That's the thing. Would you be willing to put that in the development agreement to do it that way? Because we're trying to get this thing all looking the same down, not the same, but more unique throughout our town and our CBD areas.
Those stone, wood, that type of finishes are what we've already talked about doing anyways, so.
Not the modern look that I've seen. Not like.
No,
this real
what
crazy
you
look.
saw there in that rendering was to give you an idea of what the plaza between the two buildings would look like.
Okay.
Kind of how we've got the the space in between. We can certainly look at and certainly work with staff and whoever else wants to
Okay.
be involved on using
All right. That was,
new CBDs at zone guidelines.
okay. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, also keep in mind that if you do establish a minimum square footage for the commercial, the applicant could still come back and propose live work and do the upstairs residential if it doesn't deplete that minimum that you're putting in there. So that would address your possible desires.
Still have 33,000 square feet of commercial
Exactly,
with
exactly.
residential on the top if it works out that way on the whole property.
Correct.
Right. So you could limit the number of spaces of townhomes. Right. I mean, we dictate it in the development agreement,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Okay. Councilman Nielsen?
Yeah, so, it's not always easy to articulate or even sometimes identify, what I'm trying to say or think. So as I've been quiet here, I think where I'm really trying to envision is how does this look as people are approaching into our downtown, into our CBD area? What visually are we presenting to the community? And I think in my mind, the CBD is more of that downtown type look and feel. And it's the two-story, business with maybe the apartment on top, or it's a two-story business. And so I think I'd rather not see a staggered look in there. I think I'd want to see those two buildings up front be two-story, whether that's commercial or with a residential component on top. And then, whatever you want to do in the back as far as single or two-story there, I guess I'm not quite as concerned. But for consistency, however your architects want to make that look. But I want to make sure that this looks really good coming into our downtown. It's the first commercial development that's going to be right out on the state highway. And I really like that element of it. And I just wanted to go, yep, you're in downtown Star. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Am I babbling still?
No?
Okay.
No, I understand what you're trying to say. I do ask, how do I say it articulately? If you're going to require two buildings to be two-story, I'd ask for it to be the back, only because, again, I get into a point where I can't see what's behind it, right? And so lower building, taller building still allows me to lease both of those up, if that's the case. That's not saying I can't do a rooftop space along State Street either, because most of this two-story one will probably go office. Retail in a second story just doesn't work either. Not in Idaho. But I'd ask that those be, if you're going to say two of your buildings have to be it, and you're going to dedicate it now, then I would ask that it needs to be the back two buildings, versus having us at least work with staff on which two buildings are,
Yeah,
how
and in
that
my
would
mind,
be.
that's kind of at odds with the aesthetic that the CBD is, that we envisioned for that CBD zone. So I guess without having to think about that a little further. And, again, I'm not a developer or an architect, and maybe there's a way to make one building two and the other one single, and then do the same on the back. Certainly, I'd be open to that when it comes to the plotting, I suppose. As long as it,
Well, we get to 33,500 commercial
No.
space.
I know we can achieve the goals of the CBD zone and of the STARS comprehensive plan. Again, you're going to see all this back when it comes back for design review.
well, we're accepting the goals of the CBD zone. I mean, that's the whole problem that we're dealing with here, is this is an exception to the goals of that. So I'm not sure that we can achieve them. But, so for me, the question is, can we agree on what a compromise looks like? And maybe those back two buildings need to come up and be connected to the front two. Maybe you're not looking at four, maybe you're looking at two larger ones. So that you still have that frontage, but you don't have to worry about the back ones not being seen. I don't know what all the alternatives and options are. But what I know is that what I'm seeing here in my mind is not achieving the goals of the CBD zone. So how do we do that? And I'm looking for help.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I think it does make sense to put the residential behind First Street. Just looking at the comprehensive plan, part of the rest of the downtown, I mean, it is kind of blocked off, right? So, I mean, when I was really hesitant about giving up more commercial space, but it sounds like we're not. So that's not the issue. So I'm okay with the 10 more units in the back. I think, density, downtown, State Street, I think that makes sense. Yeah. And I am not a developer, so I can't help you any way there. Or a, architect.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
a quick question for staff. So if we go from 20 to 30 units, do they need another amenity?
I also believe in this design, they're actually adding to the open space. That's correct.
We are correct. From what was initially proposed in the development agreement, yeah, we're adding to that.
Not to say that they can't add another amenity.
Any further questions here of the applicant?
We're all really excited.
So this is what I have. I'm gonna just tell you what I got. What we talked about. We're gonna have 33,300 square feet of commercial space up there. We're gonna look at the CBD architectural overlay. The first 3 units of those townhomes are gonna be turned with a storefront, basically, right?
Correct.
An office storefront. And the remaining 27 units would have a work-live option in them,
Correct.
correct? Okay. Anybody else got anything for them?
You'll close the public hearing. I'll make that motion.
Well, I just want to,
Was there a commitment to the building the 2 commercial buildings up
Oh,
front
yes.
first? Is that
yeah,
that's what you'd
I don't know if it's, well,
doing 50% of the, or doing the State Street frontage units before you did the residential? Is that
see,
what
our whole goal, I guess our whole purpose of that whole thing is you get too many people that want to build all the residential and none of the commercial,
we
right?
understand. That's exactly what we've talked about.
Right. And
Correct.
we want to avoid that. We want
Correct.
the commercial in there because you build it, they'll come. You know, we need the commercial space for people to be able to come, right?
Correct. So I am saying that that is our first goal, is to get those going, because those will be much quicker. Now, if they would be complete before we start the residential, I'm not saying that's the case, because the way construction is these days, like, we could be, you know, I mean, we have a plat to go with the townhomes, but
At the very least, you have a core and shell,
correct.
right? I mean,
Correct. And I should say, we will be working towards it. You'll have seen our design review. Plans will be underway. I mean, I think that should be what it is. We'll work towards getting that done, you know, as soon as possible.
okay. Anybody got any more questions or comments of Mr. Jeff before we close this?
I don't know about
Can't-
of him, but
Go ahead.
it seems to me that we're in the same position that we went into a workshop in the last time. And I think maybe that's for deliberation, but.
Okay. Anything else of staff?
I just want to add, I think the difference between then and now is you didn't have a developer that really had the vision on what they were trying to achieve. You had a land planner that was just trying to get something approved. I think now you've got more detail to consider when you're making your decision on your conditions. That helps.
I'm not sure I have more detail.
And maybe you need more detail.
Okay. Anything else with the applicant before we close it? Anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Jeff, before we close it?
No, we're good.
Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing on the Whitener Property Development Agreement modification and go to council deliberations.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Keys.
So I, like Councilwoman Solomon earlier, I kind of looked at this at first and it was like, what are we doing here? But with the clarification that we're looking at increasing the commercial space, with the discussion about getting started on the commercial now, with the agreement to generally follow the architectural overlay district, or at least the goals of that, since we don't have the district established yet. I think that this makes sense for our CBD. I think that you know, a more intensive land use is proper in a CBD. And frankly, the fact that we've had zero opposition, you know, neighbors don't seem to have a problem with it. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the development agreement modification with the conditions added that we discussed earlier.
So just to be clear on the conditions, because I want them on the record when you're doing it.
What I have listed is that the minimum commercial space will be 33,300 square feet. That the homes along First Street will have a First Street facing entrance with that live work component. That that developer will follow at least the goals of the overlay district if the district is not in place by the time that he's doing his design. And that the two commercial buildings on the front will at least get underway now or before the residential.
Right, so I just want to clarify something with you. The first 3 units would be an office storefront versus a work-live.
On First Street, yeah,
First
correct,
Street
yeah.
units. Okay. Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'd second that.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
I agree in premise with, what Councilman Keys has said here as far as, some of the changes made here. Again, I feel like this is, it's taking us back to where we were before we did the workshop this last time. I don't believe that this is in agreement with our comprehensive plan or the CBD zoning district that we've designated here. And I don't feel like we are ready to make the variance decisions on this at this time.
Okay, any further comments? Okay, hearing none. We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
I didn't vote.
I know, you're gonna vote?
I'm gonna vote.
What do you,
Yeah.
what do you want to vote?
I'm thinking, because
You need a
I,
quarter?
yeah, I need a quarter. No, I hear both sides here, but I think I'm voting for.
So we have 3-1. Do you have that, Mr. Jacob? Okay, roll call vote. Okay, you're good? Okay, good. All right. So we got 3-1 in favor of the motion. Okay, so that passes. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to have a question. So we could start one more. I think we table Moon Valley Townhomes until October 12th. We may have to table the partway through this one. There's no way we're going to get to Moon Valley tonight and make a good decision on that. I don't even know if we're going to get through the entirety of Fountain Park. Well, I think we start it. Right. But we don't have to make a decision tonight. Huh? It's up to you guys. So would you be, so we got Fountain Park and Moon Valley public hearings tonight. Fountain Park. I know we're not going to get to Moon Valley Townhomes tonight. There's no way. So can we table them to October 12th? Huh? Well, let me ask. So we have Moon Valley, we got a couple, but we have nobody wanting to speak at this point. Fountain Park, we got quite a few. I'm sorry, Moon Valley, we have quite a few. That's going to be a longer one. So it's number F, so I suggest we table that to October 12th. Unless you guys want to hear them tonight, it's up to you. But we've made it a point not to do these public hearings late at night because they turn into a disaster for decision-making purposes.
Yeah, I remember we said 10 o'clock once, but there's
Okay,
no
let's
way we're
start-
getting through both.
Let's start with Moon Valley. Would you guys be willing to table that to October 12th?
Yes.
Okay, so I need a motion to table that to October 12th.
Mayor
Mr. Mayor,
Chadwick,
please.
Councilwoman,
I move that we table Moon Valley till October 12th.
okay, we
Second.
got a motion, we have a second.
Mayor, just to confirm, that's a special meeting.
Yes, October 12th is a special meeting. It'll be the first item on the agenda.
I'll hopefully check real quick.
So October 12th, did I get a second?
Yeah, you did. I need to look at my calendar real quick if that's a special meeting.
We scheduled that meeting date last week
Oh, we already did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
as an extra meeting date. Councilman Keys was a second. So we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. So Moon Valley Townhomes will be tabled till October 12th. Then we're on to item E, Fountain Park subdivision. We can hear that tonight, or we can table that to October 12th.
I know we don't want to table, but it's late and this is a pretty big one too.
Okay,
250 homes.
so we
Yeah.
could table that one till October 12th as well.
How many things are on October 12th?
I move
Just these two right now. We just added a date.
Well, that's fine then. And I do apologize to everybody.
Right. So October 12th, you guys, I need a motion to table that to October 12th.
So moved.
Well, make a motion.
Okay, I move to table Fountain Park to October 12th.
Okay, we got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Fountain Park is going to be tabled October 12th as well. Okay, we're going to move on to item G, which is ordinance approval. And we will hold on to these sheets here, Sean, please.
Oh, Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Hershey.
try to get this, it's been a while. I move that pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50-902, the rule requiring ordinance be read on 3 different days with 1 reading being full be dispensed with, and that ordinance number 340 Stonebriar subdivision annexation be considered after reading only once by title only.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries.
Me.
Councilman Keys was the second. What are you looking for? Oh, that might be this one. Sorry. Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Keys.
I move that ordinance number 340, Stonebriar subdivision annexation, an ordinance annexing to the city of Star certain real property located in the unincorporated area of Ada County, Idaho, more specifically located at 7105, 7549, 7353, 7549, 7685, 7768, 7787, 7795, 7843, 8000, 8151, 8165, 8177, and 8189 North Stonebriar Lane, and 6850 West Joplin Road, Ada County, parcels R8180730041, R8180730001, R8180730022, R8180730050, R8180730031, R8180730011, R8180733900, R8180730080, R8180730070, R8180730060, R8180730110, R8180730100, R8180730090, R8180730120, R8180730130, R8180730140, R8180730150, R8180730160, S04213256006 in Star, Idaho, and contiguous to the city of Star, establishing the zoning classification of the annexed property as rural residential with a development agreement, RRDA, of approximately 147.26 acres, directing that certified copies of this ordinance be filed as provided by law, providing for related matters, and providing for an effective date be approved.
Amen. Do we have a second?
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
I was a little distracted during all the numbers. Could you read those again?
EIEIO.
Yeah, were we reading an ordinance for launch codes? My goodness.
Good. Roll call vote.
Hershey,
Aye.
Keys.
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
That motion carries. Ordinance 340 passes. Okay, that's the end of tonight's meeting. We'll adjourn at 10:19.